that doesn't convince you, we can talk about the science behind Super Beets. Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body, and even supports healthy blood pressure. But Super Beets does so much more than eating regular beets and is unparalleled compared to other beet powders. Just one scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. Go to superbeetsradio.com/Howie and try out Super Beets yourself. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
How did you come up with the name VB?
My first producer and I both had steady girlfriends, or we were married or whatever. And VB was always saying that we were whipped, if you know what I mean. Finally, I said, you don't even have a girlfriend. I've never seen you with a female. As a matter of fact, I don't think you have ever had sex. You are just a virgin boy.
What is your biggest fear?
That Donald Trump will not be reelected in 2020 and that some horrible Democrat will come in and finish off the destruction of this once great country.
Out of all of your daughters, who is the least like you and why?
Probably Charlotte, even though we went to the same high school, Deerfield Academy. She has a different sense of her responsibilities than I do. Let me put it that way. She has a different regard for money. She's not a cheap bastard, in other words.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right. All the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features.
You've been hearing me talk about Super Beets for a while now, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, why Super Beets? You could take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I take them twice a day, once in the morning when I get up, even before I have my first cup of coffee, and the other time in the afternoon, right before the show. It gives me a burst of energy. It's great for my blood pressure. It's good for circulation. It just makes you feel better. If that doesn't convince you, we can talk about the science behind Super Beets. Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body, and even supports healthy blood pressure. But Super Beets does so much more than eating regular beets and is unparalleled compared to other beet powders. Just one scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. Go to superbeetsradio.com/Howie and try out Super Beets yourself. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie. www.superbeetsradio.com/.
She's the Boston Herald's wittiest wordsmith, the last woman standing at the Whiskey Priest. Once a very legitimate magazine that we definitely didn't make up named her the Michael Jordan of radio. Wait, don't you think we're laying it on a little thick here, Grace?
Just stick to the script.
Oh, okay. Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio, it's the Grace Curley Show.
Hello, New England. Welcome back to the Grace Curley Show. A beautiful Tuesday here in Boston, and I'm so excited to be with you guys. I have Jared Diglio on the board, and we have another day full of sound and news and semantics for all of you out there. If you can believe this, we are only 1 month into the Joe Biden administration. And I don't know if there's like a dog rules or, you know how they say dogs age differently. This 1 month does feel like it's been 10 years. And selfishly for me, it has been an easy month in the sense of there's just so much to talk about and there's so many ridiculous articles and think pieces and double standards. But if you're out there and you're thinking, we got 4 more years of this, I'm right there with you. I know it's tough. 2022 will be here soon, though, and hopefully hopefully Republicans can make a lot of headway in that sense. But what I want to talk about now is, speaking of semantics, usually what happens is every night on Twitter, on conservative Twitter, as Jen Psaki called it, one thing seems to pick up steam. And I'll be scrolling through and I'll see different people, whether it's Stephen Miller, Molly Hemingway, or Sean Davis, tweeting out the left's daily dose of double standards. And last night's situation was incredibly obvious what it was going to be. Do you remember the border crisis when Trump was president, specifically the kids in cages? This was a huge, major issue. It brought along with it a lot of fake news. You might remember that Time magazine where there was the little girl and she didn't know where her parents were, and it ended up being a fake story. But it was a manufactured story by the press to try to make it seem like evil orange man bad was locking kids in cages. In reality, those cages were built by the Obama administration. And just to show you the true laziness of the press, a lot of the pictures that they were outraged about were actually taken during the Obama administration. But I digress on that. So you guys probably remember this. It was a I think it didn't last a long time because Trump eventually kind of backed down from the policy to try to diffuse the situation. But the media made this into a massive headache for the Trump administration. It was a PR nightmare. And most of us saw right through it, but some people fell for it. Some people really did. Well, I just want to let you guys know that you don't have to worry anymore about the babies being ripped from their mama's arms, the kids locked in cages by Orange Man Bad, because we've had a shift. Remember how we shifted from lies when Trump was in office to now verbal stumbles, or even more lovable, gaffes with Joe Biden? We have a new shift. We have gone from kids in cages to children in shelters, or better yet, migrant facilities for children. Now, I have the tweets here all screenshotted. Absolutely insane. When you look at these migrant facilities, I kid you not, they look like shipment big boxes like you'd use for when someone's moving.
Yes, shipping containers, international shipping containers.
Exactly, Jared. Except they have a little window on most of them that has bars on it like a prison. But they're not prisons. They're not jails. They're not cages. This is a facility. And pesky conservative Twitter started pointing out the hypocrisy. And it really was hilarious. A lot of people were calling for AOC. They were reposting those pictures of AOC when she was dressed in all white and she was crying by the fence, the chain link fence. And people were saying, AOC, like, what's going on? I mean, you were really upset about this when it was Donald Trump. So I'm going to read you guys some of these. So the Washington Post says, first migrant facility for children opens under Biden. CBS gets in on the fun and says, U.S. shelters for migrant children near maximum capacity as border crossings increase. We will get to why the border crossings are increasing. I'm guessing, I have a lot of faith in my audience. I'm guessing you guys can connect the dots. But we're going to have Jessica Vaughn on at 1:30 to discuss some of the terrible policies that Biden is either implementing or reining back now that he's president that are really doing a lot of damage. And then what's even more concerning, which I'm going to talk about for the next hour, is how unwilling any Democrat is to just call a spade and say we have a problem. They've been unwilling to address this problem for years. And it was amazing because when they were outraged about the kids in cages, that was a real crisis to them. And then when Trump brought the angel moms to the White House, Jim Acosta had the audacity to call it a manufactured crisis in front of those moms, in front of the moms whose kids were either killed by an illegal immigrant, horrible accidents, car accidents. Actually, one of them's from Massachusetts. Howie's had her on the show before. Can you imagine having the gall to say that? It's a manufactured crisis. It wasn't manufactured to the moms there. It was very real. probably it's going to change their entire lives forever. They probably think about it multiple times a day. But that was manufactured. But to Jim Acosta, the babies being ripped from their mama's arms was very real. Now, you're not going to hear a lot from Jim Acosta or from all those people about this because they do not want to address the fact that Joe Biden is incentivizing people to come to the border and cross over illegally. And that's why we're being flooded with people. And that's why these migrant facilities have to exist, because they're almost at capacity. And the scariest part is that you have someone like Merrick Garland who's in the middle of his hearings, and he can't even say whether or not it's illegal. Let's play cut 15.
Talk a little bit more about the law enforcement challenges at the border, which I know a number of other members have brought up with you. Just a fundamental question. Do you believe that illegal entry at America's border should remain a crime?
Well, I haven't thought about that question. I just haven't thought about that question. I think, the president has made clear that we are a country with the borders and with a concern about national security. I don't know of a proposal to...
I don't know if Joe Biden has made that clear. I think that the most clear he made it was when one of his people and his, part of his team anonymously told some news organization that illegal immigrants should wait because they couldn't come in right now. That was the most clear they were on this. Otherwise, it's, no holds bar. Let everybody in. I don't know where Garland got that idea. And by the way, I would like to start calling him by his real name, which Claire McCaskill told me about today. This is cut 7.
But I watched part of that hearing. I mean, Nicole, give me a break. Can you believe Cruz and Cornyn sat there and lectured Garland Merrick?
Garland Merrick. I like it, Claire. Guys, 844-500-4242. We're going to be breaking down more of his hearing from yesterday and some of these very concerning answers. Call in, tell us what you think. This is The Grace Curley Show.
If you're thinking about a new RV this year, I've got 2 words of advice for you. Buy early. This is Howie Carr. With the popularity of camping growing and manufacturers' constraints, the earlier you shop, the better. Our friends at Cold Springs RV are ready for you. They have an indoor heated showroom and heated units outside for winter browsing. They are also ready to sell your current RV on consignment. Learn more at coldspringsrv.com or visit Cold Springs RV in Ware, New Hampshire.
Alexander Hamilton said, "Those who stand for nothing will fall for anything." This is Toby from Cape Gunworks. When our founding fathers drafted the Second Amendment, there was no question of its meaning. Today, if you have questions, come to Cape Gunworks for some advice, training, or to send a few rounds downrange. We have a fully stocked pro shop with a huge selection of guns, crossbows, archery, classes, rentals, a 15-lane range, and a friendly staff. Come on down to Cape Gunworks, Airport Road, Hyannis, or capegunworks.com.
This is Charlie Baker.
Hey everybody, Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker here.
And these are his friends.
I may not make it through this story, and I told a story about a fisherman that I met in New Bedford. He's coming off the boat. He was a big, huge man, completely soaked in sweat and salt water.
In the world of Charlie Baker and his friends, the real world of panic porn, political leaders cannot survive without absolute power, and the public can't be expected to blindly follow orders without first hearing a made-up story.
And he started to cry, and I gave him a hug. He was a big, huge guy. It was like hugging a mountain. And then he said, "See those 2 kids up there?" And he said, "Those are my sons." They were both spectacular football players at New Bedford High School who were given college scholarships, and I ruined their lives. And you hear those kinds of stories every day.
And they're the only friends Charlie Baker has.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
What deal can we have, Crazy Nancy?
The Constitution does not say that a person can shout wolf in a crowded theater.
But to be clear, you're not taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out.
Good morning. Sunday morning. Chocolate candy, chocolate, and then we have some other chocolate here. Consistently practice social distancing.
Why does AOC complain that you have not been grooming younger people for leadership?
I don't know. You'll have to ask her.
That was kind of sharp.
I'm not a big needle taker. I mean, I had a hard time getting my ears pierced. I'm not a big needle taker. I mean, Mother Earth is angry. She's telling us.
What do you think is causing this erratic behavior?
I think that the president has always had erratic behavior. I have ice cream in my freezer. I guess that's better than having Lysol in somebody's lungs.
Civilization as we know it is at stake.
I don't drink, but I'm happy to have ice cream with anybody anytime.
Joe Biden accuses Trump of being a racist, but if you listen to Biden's comments, you would agree that he doth protest too much.
If you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not, what do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
The first mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean.
And Madam President, we have predators on our streets.
That kid wearing a hoodie may very well be the next poet laureate and not a gangbanger.
They are beyond the pale, many of those people.
God love you, you've been here all day. My Lord, you may feel like you're being incarcerated.
We have no choice but to take them out of society.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the Negro.
They're going to put you all back in chains.
Unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you...
Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio.
But I watched part of that hearing. I mean, Nicole, give me a break. Can you believe Cruz and Cornyn sat there and lectured Garland Merrick?
Garland Merrick. He does have one of those names.
Always got to be careful when you get two first names or two last names as both your names.
Claire McCaskill. Not that she ever was that impressive on these shows, but yikes, that is not good. I want to read you guys, and I will get to the calls in 1 second, 844-500-4242. But just to give you a little flashback to what Democrats were tweeting when they got wind of the kids in cages back in June of 2019. AOC said, I'm curious, at House GOP, what would you like people to call these Trump-run human cages? According to you, concentration camp experts and historians are wrong. So what do you call it? What term makes you feel better about brutality? Internment, detention, freedom center? Now, Jared, correct me if I'm wrong, the shipment containers with the windows. I would say that those are...
Freedom centers? Absolutely.
They look like human cages.
They do.
If we're going by the terms that we used for Trump.
Yes, they are metal boxes with bars on the one window.
And I'm going to read you guys a little bit from this Washington Post story where they say, first migrant facility for children opens under Biden. It's amazing. It's amazing the shift we are making. It's two different realities. I cannot wait for Glenn Kessler to explain to me why I should cool the outrage meter, because I'm getting too worked up about the language and the difference in treatment of Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. But before I read you this, let's go to the phone line. Spencer, you're next with Grace on the Grace Curley Show. Go ahead, Spencer.
In terms of Biden versus
prior presidents, doesn't anybody find it strange that we don't even have a scheduled date for the State of the Union address?
Yeah. No, Spencer, but have you been watching when he does get in front of the camera for more than like 5 minutes?
Well, I'm sure they're waiting for the order of 3x5 cards.
No, exactly. He's either going to need a teleprompter or, he's not holding up well when he does these speeches. But the amazing thing is, Spencer, if you click on something, and I know, guys, listen, if you're annoyed with how much I reference Twitter, I do apologize, but it is where I get a lot of my updates. If you click on one of these videos of Joe Biden delivering a speech of sorts, I don't even know if we can call it that, it's like ramblings, and you see the responses beneath it, I'm telling you, it is one of the scariest things out there are these responses. It made me come up with a segment, Real or Robot, because I'm convinced half these people are bots. They'll write things like, so nice to finally have a charismatic, good-natured president who can deliver a speech without a teleprompter. And I'm like, what world am I in? I feel like, I say it all the time, guys, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Spencer, do you ever look at the tweets from people? They think this guy is great. They think he's doing an unbelievable job, and they think he's a brilliant orator.
I don't look at the tweets, but what I am seeing is a great deal of distraction on people's accounts where they're not focusing on what should be expected, like basic communication from the White House to Congress. We are so far beyond when prior presidents delivered a State of the Union address that it raises concern.
Yeah, and Spencer, I want you to listen to this because I was going to get to this later, but it seems like the perfect time. Jen Psaki, the press secretary, was actually asked if Biden plans on holding a solo press conference. Remember how many of these Trump used to do? He would go for hours just back and forth with these reporters. Listen to her response. This is cut 4.
By this time in their presidencies, both President Trump and President Obama had held solo press conferences. So are there plans for President Biden to hold a solo press conference anytime soon?
He will hold a solo press conference, but I don't have a date for you at this point in time.
This week?
Not this week, no. Go ahead.
Will he get to pick the inquisitors himself?
What'd you say?
Will he get to pick the inquisitors himself?
Well, typically any president has a list of people that they're going to call upon, but usually it's a large number of people who are in the press room, and we certainly hope we'll be able to do that in a COVID-safe way.
That's an easy yes or no. Is he going to take the questions himself, or is he going to have a And once again, most times with most presidents, no. You can tell me a lot of things, Jen Psaki, but you cannot tell me that Donald Trump had a list of people he would and would not take questions from. He would take questions from everybody. Even Jim Acosta. And you know what the great part about that cut is? Because I'm pretty sure I have a pretty good ear for these things now. I think the person who asked her that question was Caitlin Collins from CNN, if I had to guess. And Caitlin Collins used to rip Trump. She hated Trump. I mean, out of all of the people in the White House press corps, she was one of the top 3 who hated Trump. Everything she said to him was like with disdain. And to think that now she's like, are we going to get to talk to Joe Biden? And she gets laughed at. She gets giggled out of town by Jen Psaki. It would take a heart of stone not to laugh because it's like, what did you expect, Caitlin? You miss Trump yet? I bet you do. Russ, you're next with Grace on the Grace Curley Show. Go ahead, Russ.
You know, Grace, this is the reason why we have so many low information voters here in Massachusetts. Because all they hear is twisted and filtered news. And they believe this stuff because they don't know any better. Now, those of us that listen to Radio Free USA, we know better because we're well informed. And they cannot pull the wool over our eyes. And let's face it, the news media and the entertainment industry in the United States of America has much influence on our culture. And it's just sickening. And believe me, I've recognized this for well over 50 years. I'm not a newly come lately person when it comes to media bias.
And I do agree with you, Russ. I mean, I think that low info voters are a big problem, but I also think I saw this today. Mid info voters are a problem too, because it's people who like to feel as though they know a lot because they scroll through and they see, they repost the black square on their Instagram or the updated press release from Black Lives Matter or, something that Joe Biden tweeted or AOC tweeted, and they feel like they know what's going on, but they don't dig any deeper. They go to Glenn Kessler or Snopes for their fact checking, and they think that they know everything. But that's a great point. I do want to switch gears here, though, and feel free to keep calling in, guys. 844-500-4242. I do want to switch gears to Garland Merrick, as Claire McCaskill called him, because he was at his hearings yesterday. I believe he still has them going on today. And I didn't know what to expect from this guy because really all I've heard about him over the last couple of years is how the mean Republicans did not let him become a Supreme Court justice. That was really my main knowledge of the guy. A lot of people say he's brilliant. In the 90s, he did such a great job. He's a really brilliant legal mind, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But as far as I could see from yesterday, I was not blown away by some of these responses. One thing that can be said about him is that he's following the Biden lead very well in the sense that he gets a question and he does not answer it. He dances around it. He says he's not sure. He says he'll have to look into it. It really did remind me of like Christopher Wray or, some of those, or James Comey. Like, I'm not at liberty to say. I would have to ask someone. Really good at all of those kind of dances. However, sometimes he would give an answer, and those were even stranger. And the really sad part was the things that he did not feel he could give an answer on. And the one I want to start with is about transgenders playing female sports. Let's play this cut.
In my last 20 seconds, I'm going to ask you if you agree with this statement. Allowing, and I'm not suggesting the answer one way or the other, I just want to know what you believe. Allowing biological males to compete in an all-female sport deprives women of the opportunity to participate fully and fairly in sports and is fundamentally unfair to female athletes.
This is a very difficult societal question that you're asking here. I know what underlies it.
I know, but you're going to be Attorney General.
Exactly. This is the big times. So, you're in prime time now, Merrick. So we will be asking you tough questions. It's not a job where you get a lot of easy questions. I don't know what he was expecting. It's a hearing. It's a confirmation hearing. And probably the worst answer he gave was actually to, I believe, Josh Hawley when he was asked about domestic terror attacks and versus Antifa attacks. Listen to what he said about the Antifa attacks that took place on federal courthouses. This is cut 14.
Let me ask you about assaults on federal property in places other than Washington, D.C., Portland, for instance, Seattle. Do you regard assaults on federal courthouses or other federal property as acts of domestic extremism, domestic terrorism?
Well, Senator, my own definition, which is about the same as the statutory definition, is the use of violence or threats of violence in an attempt to disrupt democratic processes. So an attack on a courthouse while in operation, trying to prevent judges from actually deciding cases, that plainly is domestic extremism, domestic terrorism. An attack simply on government property at night or any other kind of circumstances is a clear crime and a serious one and should be punished. I don't know enough about the facts of the example you're talking about, but that's where I draw the line. One is both are criminal, but one is a core attack on our democratic institutions.
Well, we got a wizard of ums now. My question for him would be, so is domestic terrorism similar to the coronavirus where it disappears at night? It doesn't exist anymore. I mean, daylight, if you're a Democrat, you really think daylight is the worst. It is the most dangerous time.
Is it a different strain of terrorism? Like
that answer and the amount of ums. And I don't know. Some people just talk with a lot of ums. I say it enough. You You're in front of a microphone. You're going to say it. But at a certain point, if you're saying it that much, it seems like you're trying to avoid saying something that you don't want to be pinned down for. You don't want to say how you actually feel, so you're overthinking it.
I would think if you're at a Senate hearing to become the Attorney General and you were a Supreme Court nominee and you've been this brilliant, legally scholarly mind, you would have something prepared for that. And in cases where you don't know the answer, don't want to give the answer, you should have a response ready. You shouldn't be stumbling all over yourself.
Right. And just to go back here for a second before we go to break, and I'll take calls on this, 844-500-4242, and I will be asking Jessica Vaughn about this in the 1:30 segment. But let's go back to the unlawful border crossings, because he had another answer to that, which was probably worse than the first one. This is cut 16.
Will you continue to prosecute unlawful border crossings?
Well, this is, again, a question of allocation of resources. We will, the department will prevent unlawful crossing. I don't know. I have to admit, I just don't know exactly what the conditions are and how this is done.
I'm just not that impressed. I mean, I knew I wouldn't agree with him, but I didn't think it would be this sloppy.
He should understand what the term illegal means if he wants to be the Attorney General.
You would think.
That's kind of a big one.
We have such a low bar for these people. Guys, this week is the week you've been waiting for. My friends at Eden Pure have brought back the ever so popular Thunderstorm Air Purifier BOGO offer. That's buy one, get one free. The offer expires Sunday, February 28th at midnight. With over 60,000 sold, the Thunderstorm is slated to sell out. So take advantage of this offer while supplies last. If you've bought one and love it the way I do, then order now and you'll have two. I have two in my house. It's really helpful because I always like to keep one in the kitchen no matter what. For after cooking, you just turn it on for a little bit and it really clears the air out, makes it smell fresh. But it's also good to just have one in your living room or your bedroom, so you can never have too many of these. Our listeners love the Thunderstorm Air Purifier. Matt the Vet loved it so much, he bought two more. Jared loves it.
And I love that you can control how powerful it is. It's got a knob. You can control it, and it works well, so you don't have to leave it on all the time. A lot of air fresheners or air purifiers constantly have to stay on. This, you can turn it on if you're in a room, turn it off when you leave. It's fantastic. It's so user-friendly, I think would be the term for it.
Yes, when you take advantage of the BOGO offer, the Thunderstorm is below $100 and doesn't take up any room. Also, no filters are needed. Take advantage of the BOGO offer before it expires this Sunday or before supplies run out. Go to EdenPure.com, put in code word GraceBOGO. That's EdenPure.com. Grace BOGO. Shipping is free. We'll be back on the other side with more of your calls. 844-500-4242. I'm Grace, and this is The Grace Curley Show.
She's never held office, but she paid the Whiskey Priest's monthly rent once. She's Grace Curley.
This hour of The Grace Curley Show is brought to you in part by the Follansbee Inn in North Sutton, New Hampshire. Do what I did and enjoy this beautiful inn. To reserve your room, go to follansbeeinn.com.
Are we starting to feel bad for Joe Biden? Sorta. Are we going to play his gaffes anyway? Of course.
My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Now we need to stand behind Jamie Harrison, the next president, next senator. I'm looking forward to appointing the first African-American woman to the United States Senate. Just like here in California, here in Nevada. Back in the spring, late fall, late spring, late winter, early fall, anyway, you know what I mean. Look, tomorrow's Superstar Tuesday. I tell you what, I'm rushing ahead, aren't I? We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. It says you cannot have 20, 30, 40, 50 clips in a weapon. We'll see who's sleepy.
Mr. Vice President, thank you.
All right, Chuck, thank you very much.
All right, it's Chris.
Sometimes I wake up and I think it's 1920 and not 2020.
Hair loss is not one of life's more enjoyable experiences. If you're looking to fill in your hairline
or reverse years of hair loss, DiStefano Hair Restoration will create a result that will be a transformative experience. The result of my IGT procedure was quite remarkable. I now have fuller, thicker hair so I can even wear it a bit longer. There are a few major decisions I've made in my life that I wish I did sooner. My hair restoration is number one. It was by far one of the best moves I've ever made. My hair looks awesome, and the confidence from having a full head of hair again has left me feeling great. I used to look in the mirror and dreaded seeing my ever-increasing bald spot. Now when I look in the mirror, I see the new me with a full head of thick hair. For information on how to make the same choice I did, go to hairman.com/Howie. What are you waiting for? More hair to fall out? Get the hair you've always wanted. hairman.com/Howie.
Okay, boys and girls, gather round. It's story time with Grace Curley. Tell me the story of the missing makeup brush.
When I first started working for Howie, I was in sales with the mailroom manager. And one time I bought this really expensive makeup brush. Working for Howie, it was like my first real paycheck. So I went out and bought this super expensive brush. And when I was driving around with the mailroom manager, we go all over New England making sales. I lost it. I thought I lost it in her car. And, I asked her, I said, hey, have you seen my makeup brush? And she was kind of like, no, I haven't seen it. I'm sure it'll turn up. But I was really determined to find it, and I kept saying, like, no, you got to check again. You got to check again. I eventually found it in my own car under the seat, but she still remembers thinking, this girl is wacky about her makeup.
Catch all of Grace Curley's stories weekdays right before Howie from 12 to 3 on The Grace Curley Show. And follow Grace on Twitter at G_Curley.
Was I wearing a tiara when I came in here? Because if you happen upon it, will you have Lady Pennyface retrieve it and send it post hence?
She's the epitome of class, style, and sophistication. She's Grace Curley.
Today's poll question is brought to you by Genesis 950. Use Genesis 950 for all of your cleaning needs. Use code word GRACE to save $10 and get free shipping. Go to Genesis950.com. Genesis 950, a lot cheaper than replacing your carpets. Amen. Carpets are expensive. Don't waste your time with that. Just clean the carpet you already have with Genesis 950. Jared, what is the poll question and what are the results thus far?
Which of Merrick Garland's answers thus far concerns you the most? Antifa may not be domestic terrorism. Allowing transgender athletes to play women's sports, won't commit to criminalizing illegal border crossings, or won't commit to releasing the Durham report.
The Durham report one is frustrating, but I think once we knew that Trump wasn't going to be president, we knew that nothing was going to come from that anyway. I'm going to say the most frightening is the not criminalizing illegal border crossings, because, there's tons of stories here. Not only from the Center for Immigration Studies, but Amber Athey has a great piece in Spectator. This is just a really, really dangerous road to go down. What are the results, Jared?
That is in the lead. Won't commit to criminalizing illegal border crossings at 38%. Antifa may not be domestic terrorism in second place at 34%.
Yeah, and we have some new sound from Jen Psaki. I think we'll save that because it's a little bit on the longer side. But I'll definitely be asking Jessica Vaughn about that. But in this piece from The Spectator, it says Biden's twisted immigration policy. And I'm going to skip around a little bit here, but this is the gist of it. Frequently, the Biden administration's words do not match its actions, primarily because it does not seem to understand that policies have real-world consequences. For example, after Biden campaigned on loosening Trump's stricter enforcement of immigration law, thousands of Honduran migrants formed a caravan to come to the U.S. in hopes of gaining entry. The Biden team tried to put the genie back in the bottle. An unnamed transition team official told NBC News that migrants need to understand they're not going to be able to come into the United States immediately. Such messages are meaningless, of course, unless they are accompanied by an actual policy change to eliminate the pull factors that incentivize migrants to attempt to cross the border. Instead, after taking office, Biden proposed legislation that would grant amnesty to 11 million illegal immigrants already in the country. And also, a really big problem is the MPP program, the Remain in Mexico policy, is of particular concern if the Biden administration actually wants to avoid a surge of migrants at the southern border. Now, here's the thing. It's becoming more and more clear that they don't want to avoid that. And they're not avoiding it. That's why they had to open up these facilities for the kids.
Shelters.
The shelters. Guys, we'll be back on the other side. Don't go anywhere. This is The Grace Curley Show.
I've been on Balance 7 for 2 weeks now, and I cannot believe my energy. Last weekend, I was feeling so good I did 3 bike rides. Balance 7 is a clear mineral liquid you take 3 times a day to break down the acid in your body. You feel better, and I personally sleep better. It also reduces acid reflux and heartburn. Often I'm asked to try products, and I can be very skeptical of the claims. But with Balance 7, it was all 100% true. With Balance 7, I don't feel my energy starting to flag as the day wears on. By allowing me to sleep better at night, I have more mental clarity during the day. Balance 7 is a highly alkalizing concentrate. That means it reduces the acids that have built up in your body over time. All you do is drink a small shot of the liquid 3 times a day and you will feel the difference. Balance 7 is made of safe, all-natural ingredients. If you suffer from heartburn, acid reflux, or sleep issues, give Balance 7 a try. Order any of the 1-month supply and put in code word Howie. You'll save $10 and get free shipping. That's Balance7, the number 7.com. Balance7.com. Code word Howie.
He's the gaff that keeps on giving. Here's 1 minute of former Vice President Joe Biden.
You teachers who touch them, figuratively speaking, well, I hope you touch them and tell them how much you love them too. But my point is, when you touch their hearts.
I get in trouble some of the things I say, but I want to tell you, just be straight up. If I'm your president, with me it starts here in my gut, goes to my heart, and then I articulate it.
And by the way, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. 1.2 billion. So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store in a supermarket. You control the guy or the woman who brings out the carts on a forklift. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap, and I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Normally, we give Fredo Cuomo a lot of attention, but lately it's Governor Andrew Cuomo who's been grabbing headlines. Let's take a listen to some of his best moments.
You're an essential worker, so go take a job as an essential worker.
But the people aren't hiring because of...
No, there are people hiring. You can get a job as an essential worker. So now you can go to work and you can be an essential worker and you're not going to kill anyone. The number is down because we brought the number down. God did not do that. Fate did not do that. Destiny did not do that. We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great. Because I can also see you're in masterful shape, buff even. It has a very nice floral bouquet. A little I detected lilac, hydrangea, tulips. What does it smell like to you? Tulips, yes. Floral bouquet.
Because if that's who they are, and if they are the extreme conservatives, they have no place in the state of New York.
You've been hearing me talk about Super Beets for a while now, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, why Super Beets? You could take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I take them twice a day. Once in the morning when I get up, even before I have my first cup of coffee, and the other time in the afternoon, right before the show. It gives me a burst of energy. It's great for my blood pressure. It's good for circulation. It just makes you feel better. If that doesn't convince you, we can talk about the science behind Super Beets. Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and even supports healthy blood pressure. But Super Beets does so much more than eating regular beets and is unparalleled compared to other beet powders. Just 1 scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. Go to superbeetsradio.com/Howie and try out Super Beets yourself. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
What deal can we have, Crazy Nancy?
The Constitution does not say that a person can shout wolf in a crowded theater.
But to be clear, you're not taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out.
Good morning. Sunday morning. Chocolate candy, chocolate, and then we have some other chocolate here. Consistently practice social distancing.
Why does AOC complain that you have not been grooming younger people for leadership?
I don't know. You'll have to ask her.
That was kind of sharp.
I'm not a big needle taker. I mean, I had a hard time getting my ears pierced. I'm not a big needle taker. I mean, Mother Earth is angry. She's telling us.
What do you think is causing this erratic behavior?
I think that the president has always had erratic behavior. I have ice cream in my freezer. I guess that's better than having Lysol in somebody's lungs. Civilization as we know it is at stake. I don't drink, but I'm happy to have ice cream with anybody anytime.
Here's 1 minute of President Eric Swalwell.
Chris, so far, the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
But I will always be real with you. I will be bold without the bold. Welcome to my fellow candidates, whom I consider we are all a part of being the Avengers. The Republicans in 2016, that was the Hunger Games.
And, you know, it's said often that history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes, and we heard a lot of rhymes yesterday.
My wife, Brittany, also wants you to know we've got two beautiful children, Nelson and Cricket. But the decision to have children was her choice.
I'm the only candidate calling for a ban and buyback on every single assault weapon.
Again, we have to have an ankle monitor on this president. This is the worst possible time for a serial offender like him to be running around unsupervised.
It's story time with Grace Curley. Tell me the story of how the Dirty Rats podcast happened.
We were sitting in a staff meeting, and I started talking about how I love true crime podcasts. I listen to them all the time on my ride home, and the mailroom manager suddenly said, wait a second, we have true crime. And she started pointing out all of the books behind us at the staff meeting that were all of Howie's books about Whitey Bulger. Howie wrote it. Howie at first was going to voice it, but it started to sound a little bit too old-time radio, and we wanted something a little bit more modern. And then Taylor read for it, and he had that voice. It just worked. Happy to say it turned out great, and it was really fun. And I was pleasantly surprised at how good it sounded.
Catch all of Grace Curley's stories weekdays right before Howie from 12 to 3 on The Grace Curley Show. And follow Grace on Twitter at @G_Curley.
We are now effective today requiring all counties to close their indoor activities, their indoor operations in the following sectors: restaurants, wineries, tasting rooms. A few weeks ago, I was asked to go to a friend's 50th birthday. I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up.
Stay at home as much as possible. Put those social gatherings on hold, including extra care for Thanksgiving.
Denver's mayor told you to stay home for Thanksgiving, then he got on a flight to go see family out of state.
Some people calling Supervisor Kuehl a hypocrite. Now, on November 24th, she voted to ban outdoor dining, and on the very same day, she was spotted eating out.
She's the Boston Herald's wittiest wordsmith, the last woman standing at the Whiskey Priest. Once a very legitimate magazine that we definitely didn't make up named her the Michael Jordan of radio. Wait, don't you think we're laying it on a little thick here, Grace?
Just stick to the script.
Oh, okay. Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio, it's the Grace Curley Show.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Grace Curley Show. Thank you so much for tuning in and for always giving us a chance to bring you the latest in sound and stories and everything going on in the news. And I did tease this a little bit in the last hour. We have a fresh Jen Psaki cut. She is
Suck it to me, baby.
Psaki is back, and she's getting a tough question from, if you had to guess, you guys are going to be shocked. The one-horse pony is also back, and he's doing the only thing he knows how to do. Peter Doocy is asking Jen Psaki real questions that don't involve pineapples on pizza or mint chocolate chip ice cream or, how many women the administration has hired. No, he's asking policy questions. Let's see how Jen Psaki handles it.
Why is the Biden administration reopening a temporary facility for migrant children in Texas?
Well, first, the policy of this administration, as you well know, but just for others, is not to expel unaccompanied children who arrive at the border. And the process, how it works, is that Customs and Border Control continue to transfer unaccompanied children to the HHS Office of Refugee Resettlement. That can take a couple of days. I just want to give this context because people need to understand the process. But because of COVID-19 protocols, the social distancing requirements, the capacity of existing Office of Refugee Resettlement shelters has been significantly reduced because, of course, you can't have a child in every bed. There needs to be spacing, and we abide by those spacing to protect the kids who are living in those facilities for a short period of time. And to ensure the health and safety of these kids, HHS took steps to open an emergency facility to add capacity where these children can be provided the care they need before they are safely placed with families and sponsors. So it's a temporary reopening during COVID-19. Our intention is very much to close it, but we want to ensure that we can follow COVID protocols as unaccompanied minors come into the United States.
A few things. One is that I am always amazed how COVID can be anything you want it to be whenever you want it to be it. It is the dog ate my homework on steroids. It is the perfect excuse. It is the perfect out for anything. If you're in trouble, if you lied, blame it. They used to say blame it on the rain, blame it on the COVID. And so this is another reason. The kids in cages, the children in migrant facilities is actually because of, you guessed it, COVID. And she says in that cut that it's temporary. But I want to read you this. This is from the Washington Post. So not exactly a Trump-supporting conservative outlet. Government officials say the camp is needed because facilities for migrant children have had to cut capacity for nearly half because of the coronavirus pandemic. At the same time, the number of unaccompanied children crossing the border has been inching up, with January reporting the highest total, more than 5,700 apprehensions for that month in recent years. What happened in January, Jared? I can't.
I'm trying to think what the difference is.
There's a lot of shifts that are happening now, and she mentions COVID, and I'm kind of happy she gives us this reason to talk about it because she brought it up also yesterday, and I want to play that cut as well. She's telling us, this is Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, that there's, if you've been wondering, when is this going to end, or when do we get back to normalcy? We had Dr. June Deff on yesterday. He said herd immunity could be here as soon as April, but not according to the Biden administration. They do not want you to stop feeling like a shell of your former self. If you've been looking out the window day in and day out at this dreary New England life of yours and thinking, when am I going to get back to normal? When am I going to see my friends? When am I going to be out at a bar screaming over people with a vodka soda in my hand? They're here to remind you that there is no end in sight. Listen to Jen Psaki. This is cut 3.
We need to remain vigilant, both from the federal government, the American people need to, and it's still going to be months and months of sacrifice, of work, of suffering, unfortunately, in order to get through the pandemic.
Months and months. And then I read another article today with Dr. Fauci, where he is informing all of us that he does not think that we should, get back to indoor dining or going to the theater. I don't know if Fauci knows this, but most theaters have shut down at this point. That's not going to be as much of a threat. But indoor dining could be. And Fauci is here to tell us that he does not want that to happen. I'm reading now. Let's see. This is, I think, is this Business Insider? I'm not sure. It says, COVID death toll should have been much lower, but masks became politicized, Fauci says. How they can even write that headline without realizing how stupid they sound. Masks became politicized. He was the same guy who in March told us we didn't need to be wearing masks. That it was kind of like a placebo thing. It made you feel better. And now he's telling us to wear 2 masks.
Classic mix-up.
He's on Rachel Maddow complaining about how the Trump administration wouldn't let him on with her. He's like flirting with her, basically. It's gross. And then he's on Al Franken's podcast, and he's talking about things becoming politicized. Give me a break. But I promise, guys, I'm not going to go into a whole Fauci spiel. I did that yesterday. What I do want to do for you guys, though, is play a little bit of Dr. Scott Atlas. Remember him? He was part of the Trump team. And he's been on Howie's show a bunch. He's great. He tells you it like it is. He doesn't mince words. And he's not into the panic porn that has taken over our country. Let's play cut 8.
There's not only no accountability, there's a repetition of stuff as if it were never proven wrong. I mean, we're seeing it with the schools. We see it with all these super spreader, things that you just said. We're hearing just waffling on things because I think you're right. People have a lot of pressure, and that's understandable. They don't want to be wrong, except they're instilling fear.
Exactly. And that is part of the problem, is that it's fine to not know what's going to happen. But after a certain point, if all your predictions skew so negative, and everything's doomsday, and everything's, blech, and the sky is falling, and don't get too excited, there's no light at the end of the tunnel, then I start not listening to you. Everything Fauci predicts is negative, and it hurts businesses, and it shakes people's faith in the future. And I agree with Dr. Scott Atlas. It's like at a certain point, I'm not saying Fauci deserves to be shunned from society, but at a certain point, you do take the microphone away. You stop giving him the TV hits over and over again. This is also Dr. Scott Atlas. This is cut 9.
When you look at the American media in particular, and part of it is these interviews where people keep stressing what we don't know, what might happen. And we know so much, like you pointed out, about the variants. There's no evidence that there's some kind of massive spike due to these variants. There's no evidence that there's increased lethality. But we have American stories. If you look at the data from the National Bureau of Economic Research, over 90% of American stories were negative and therefore fear-invoking, whereas in Europe, just over 50%.
Yeah, what is this? And I know people say ratings, but I don't believe that. Because no one I know really is watching the news anymore because they're so depressed by this constant cycle of negative news. Most people have just blocked it out totally and go on Netflix and watch reruns of Bridgerton or whatever people watch now. But I don't see a thirst for this doomsday cult following that Dr. Fauci seems to have. I don't know who likes hearing from him. I don't know who likes watching these shows where they talk about 2025 and 2026 and when will we get back to normal and will life ever get back to normal? I don't think people like hearing that. Let's play one more, Jared, before we go to break. This is Dr. Atlas, cut 10.
When you have people that keep repeating that kind of stuff, misinformation, totally ignoring the science on the masks, actually, completely ignoring, and therefore pushing false information, they're instilling fear, and that's what's worrisome here. Because when you look at the data on the surveys, over 70% of Americans say they will wear a mask after the pandemic is over. That's very frightening. We have a damaged American psyche, and it's due to these public health officials that are just really not saying the real data, probably because they don't want to admit that they were so wrong.
That's Fauci. I mean, he's not saying it out of respect, probably, but it's Dr. Fauci. And someone tweeted out a few months ago, I can't remember who it was because I would love to give them credit, but they said, keep in mind that while this might have been the worst year of your life, some of these hacks, it was the best year of their life. And think about it. No sporting events for you. Guess who got to throw out the first pitch? Dr. Fauci. You know, no events for you. Guess who's getting $1 million prizes for his great work? Dr. Fauci. Guess who's the highest paid federal employee? Dr. Fauci. I was texting my friend about this yesterday, and she said, I just, you know, you're so angry at this little doctor. It just doesn't seem like it makes any sense. I said, but if you're paying attention, it makes sense why people are angry. Because if he sees what every single comment he's making does to the United States, it sends us all into a tizzy, then he would shut up. He would stop doing these interviews. I'm really, really, really at my wit's end with this. I cannot believe they keep giving him airtime. Guys, we'll be back with your calls. I see people are already getting fired up about this. 844-500-4242. Take a deep breath, Grace. Because you know what? There is good news. And one of those things is that you have Genesis 950. If you're thinking of replacing your carpets due to pet stains and odors, you must try Genesis 950 first. The reviews are amazing. This is one product that actually works. I use it. A lot of people think because Howie talked about it a lot with pets, it's a pet product. It's not. It just works great in general. If you do have pets, it's great for if they, pee on the rug or whatever, but it's just a good product to have. With water, it breaks down the bonds of stains and odors, so they're gone for good. Its antibacterial component moves pet odors from carpet and padding, and it can be used in a carpet cleaning machine, and it's green, so it's safe for your family and for your pets. Genesis 950 is made in America. That's my favorite part about it. If you're tired of pet cleaners that don't work, it's time to buy Genesis 950. 1 gallon of industrial strength Genesis 950 makes up to 7 gallons of cleaner. That's a lot of product. But Genesis 950 is not just for pet stains. Like I said, it's great for bathrooms, kitchens, floors, upholstery, and grease stains. Consider Genesis 950 before purchasing new carpets. Genesis 950 has great customer service. Order 1 gallon direct at genesis950.com to receive a free spray bottle, free shipping, and a $10 coupon using code GRACE. That's genesis950.com. Coupon only available for 1 gallon purchase. Genesis 950, much cheaper than replacing your carpets. I'll be back on the other side with the poll question and with your calls. This is The Grace Curley Show.
You're listening to The Grace Curley Show. Cory Booker said it best.
There are definitely moments where you listen to Joe Biden and you just wonder.
Here's stumbling and mumbling Joe Biden.
David Duke, the former leader of the KKK.
The Ku Klux Klan is the Ku Klux Klan.
8 more years of Donald Trump will change America in a fundamental way. But if Donald Trump is reelected, Freudian slip, and the demagogues around the world.
We also have a mechanism to control drug prices. Folks at the folks at Health and the Health Department in the United States, HHS.
It would put 720 million women back in the workforce.
I never ever thought that I'd see what I saw in Charlotte.
Would you or would you not rejoin the TPP, yes or no?
I would not rejoin the TTP. Well, they're going out and getting G5 and going to dominate. I mean, what are we doing?
The bills that the future president here, that the senator is talking about.
And now, a minute of wisdom from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Millennials and people and Gen Z and all these folks that come after us are looking up, and we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. And your biggest issue is your biggest issue is how are we going to pay for it? And this is the war. This is our World War II.
I think that there's a lot of people more concerned about being precisely, factually, and semantically correct than about being morally right.
But being factually correct is important.
It's absolutely important.
And if we work our butts off to make sure that we take back all three chambers of Congress, all three chambers of government, the presidency, the Senate, and the House in 2020, we can't start working in 2020.
And now, a minute of wisdom from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Millennials and people and, Gen Z and all these folks that come after us are looking up, and we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. And your biggest issue is how are we going to pay for it? And this is the war. This is our World War II.
I think that there's a lot of people more concerned about being precisely, factually, and semantically correct than about being morally right.
But being factually correct is important.
It's absolutely important.
And if we work our butts off to make sure that we take back all three chambers of Congress, all three chambers of government, the presidency, the Senate, and the House in 2020, we can't start working in 2020.
Follow Grace on Twitter at @G_Curly.
You're a one-horse pony.
That was Joe Biden saying one-horse pony. We've been getting some calls of people trying to educate me on the actual saying. I know it's one-trick pony. I'm quoting Lunch Bucket Joe and his infinite wisdom. If the president can say it, so can I. Guys, today's poll question is brought to you by Genesis 950. Use Genesis 950 for all your cleaning needs. Use code word GRACE to save $10 and get free shipping. Go to Genesis950.com. That's Genesis 950. A lot cheaper than replacing your carpets. Jared, what is the poll question and what are the results thus far?
Which of Merrick Garland's answers thus far concerns you the most? Antifa may not be domestic terrorism, allowing transgender athletes to play women's sports, won't commit to criminalizing illegal border crossings, won't commit to releasing the Durham report.
I'm going to say illegal border crossings.
Illegal border crossings still in the lead at 38%.
And this does seem to be the hot topic of the day. Psaki's getting more questions about it. Let's play some of that sound, Jared.
Merrick Garland was asked yesterday if illegal entry at the border should remain a crime, and he said, I haven't thought about that question. Does President Biden believe that illegal entry at the border should remain a crime moving forward?
Well, I think he was being asked as the Attorney General, the future Attorney General. I think he's looking to head to be confirmed of the United States. And if he wants to make considerations independently, he can certainly do that. But the president.
Thank you, Jared. Pause it there for a sec. What is this obsession with never just answering the questions?
It's called not having an answer.
Yeah, but even so, now she's telling us why Merrick Garland, or as Claire McCaskill said, Garland Merrick, why he's responding the way he is. And she's doing this circle around about that. And she's, bending herself into a pretzel to talk about what he said at his confirmation. What? Answer the question. Does the president think it's illegal to cross the border? It's not a hard question. That's the part of this that drives me crazy, is that I would love to see Jen Psaki in a press conference with questions that were asked like they were of Kayleigh McEnany. Because she's doing a pretty pathetic job getting these very normal, easy to answer questions. Things that you should know the first day you come into office. Does the president think that's illegal? Yes. End of story. But no, because in this crazy liberal world we live in, they're so afraid of ostracizing their far left base that every single time they get a question, they try to make it in a way that everyone's going to be happy. The moderate Democrats, the AOCs, we're not offending anyone. We can't get in trouble for our answers because we don't give any answers. So you can't get mad at what we're saying because we're not saying anything. Go ahead, play the rest.
Spoken to this, and we believe in abiding by our laws. As you know, there, of course, is a process underway at the Department of Homeland Security to take a fresh look at prioritization and who is detained and who is sent back home. So that is something happening from the Department of Homeland Security. But again, if he's going to lead an independent Justice Department, and it is his prerogative to take a look at any policies under their purview.
I don't care about the fresh look or the purview. It's so easy to answer that question. She goes around and around and around and around. It makes it so much harder on herself rather than just giving a straight answer. But you're right, Jared. The reason she doesn't want to answer is because if she does answer, she's going to get in trouble from someone. Some troll on Twitter is not going to be happy with Joe Biden. God forbid.
Or Biden will throw her under the bus again, like he did the other day.
It was a miscommunication. Do we have another cut of Psaki from today? I think she had a little mix-up. All right, we're waiting on
And I think the challenge here, as you know, is that people are fleeing prosecution. They're fleeing very difficult economic circumstances and hardship.
I don't want to be a stickler, but I think she meant persecution.
I believe she did. She was talking about the migrants coming from Central America.
Actually, you know what? We might as well just finish off this segment with a little bit more Psaki. This is cut 2.
Even while acknowledging the grim milestone that we're hitting today of 500,000 deaths in the country, it's worth mentioning that around the country, cases, hospitalizations, and deaths currently are plummeting. And as the pace of vaccination increases, I'm wondering, does the administration think that we're either at or close to a sort of turning point as it comes to the pandemic?
Well, I certainly understand the question, and it's one that I'm sure all of your friends and neighbors are asking you as well. But I know that there'll be a briefing later this afternoon with our health experts, as we do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I would say, though, that 500,000, a milestone of 500,000 deaths is certainly not something we're celebrating.
I would hope not.
He never mentioned celebrating. What?
Just every time. And you know what? Let's play a little bit of cut 5. Oh, no, we're out of time. Guys, when we get back, we got Jessica Vaughn from the Center for Immigration Studies. She's really going to tell us what's the problem with Biden's border policies. She's not going to give us the runaround like Jen Psaki. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back. This is The Grace Curley Show.
If you're thinking about a new RV this year, I've got 2 words of advice for you. Buy early. This is Howie Carr. With the popularity of camping growing and manufacturers' constraints, the earlier you shop, the better. Our friends at Cold Springs RV are ready for you. They have an indoor heated showroom and heated units outside for winter browsing. They are also ready to sell your current RV on consignment. Learn more at coldspringsrv.com or visit Cold Springs RV in Ware, New Hampshire.
Alexander Hamilton said, "Those who stand for nothing will fall for anything." This is Toby from Cape Gunworks. When our founding fathers drafted the Second Amendment, there was no question of its meaning. Today, if you have questions, come to Cape Gunworks for some advice, training, or to send a few rounds downrange. We have a fully stocked pro shop with a huge selection of guns, crossbows, archery, classes, rentals, a 15-lane range, and a friendly staff. Come on down to Cape Gunworks, Airport Road, Hyannis, or capegunworks.com.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
Here's 1 minute of getting to know Jared Diglio. What would be your last meal on Earth?
Pizza. Cheese pizza. Just regular cheese pizza.
What drink are you going to have with your pizza?
I gotta go Coke. You gotta go Coke with pizza. It's the perfect combination.
Where's your favorite vacation spot?
I'm a staycation kind of guy. I like just staying in my place, but if I had to go to a destination, I love Italy, especially Rome.
If you could live in any state besides Massachusetts, which one would you choose?
Nevada. Wide open land. People leave you alone. Plus, it's not that far from Vegas or LA.
If you weren't in radio, what profession would you be in?
Gigolo.
Favorite comic book character?
Spider-Man. He's been my favorite since I was a kid. He's the most identifiable of the superheroes. He's just kind of a normal guy who's got a lot of problems, but he's got to overcome it and save the day.
Favorite Star Trek character?
I love TNG, but I gotta go with James T. Kirk.
Dogs or cats?
Neither.
McDonald's or Burger King?
McDonald's.
Ice cream or cake?
Ice cream.
Sweet or salty?
Sweet.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Everyone knows I love coffee and I'm not giving it up. I know that it would keep me up from time to time, but no longer with Balance 7. Balance 7 is a clear mineral liquid that you take 3 times a day to break down the acid in your body. When it does this, you'll feel better, and me, I sleep better. Often I'm asked to try products and I can be very skeptical on their claims. But with Balance 7, it was all 100% true. With Balance 7, I didn't feel my energy starting to flag as the day wore on. Because by sleeping better at night, it also gave me mental clarity during the day. Balance 7 is a highly alkalizing concentrate. That means it reduces the acids that have built up in your body. Balance 7 is also known for reducing acid reflux and heartburn as it did for the mailroom manager. Balance 7 is made of safe, all-natural ingredients. If you suffer from heartburn, acid reflux, or sleep issues, you should give Balance 7 a try. Order the 8-ounce 12-pack supply at balance7.com. Put in code word Howie. You will save $10 and you'll also get free shipping. Balance7.com.
They're outlandish, they're outrageous, and they're hypocrites. They're the women of The View.
Bernie was so menschy in that moment, like a real guy. I actually am aroused by him.
Timothy McVeigh was a Christian. Just saying.
Hitler was a Christian.
Well, he didn't like the Catholics.
Trump needs to be medicated and hospitalized at this point, or he is going to just kill all of us.
I mean, do we have to wait till the hammer and sickle is on the American flag before we stand up to this guy?
Joy, you've worn blackface.
I did not go in blackface, please.
No, she was not in blackface.
Thank you.
It was a Halloween party. I went as a beautiful African woman.
Did you have tanning lotion on,
A little, I had makeup that was a little bit darker than my skin.
I'm hoping Dr. Jill becomes a Surgeon General. She's a hell of a doctor.
Whoopi, you said that Roman Polanski, it wasn't rape.
I know it wasn't rape.
Child molest, maybe? I'm not
I think
sure.
it was something. It was something else, but I don't believe it was rape.
Hold up!
Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio.
Talk a little bit more about the law enforcement challenges at the border, which I know a number of other members have brought up with you. Just a fundamental question. Do you believe that illegal entry at America's border should remain a crime?
Well, I haven't thought about that question. I just haven't thought about that question. I think, the president has made clear that we are a country with the borders and with the concern about national security.
That would be Attorney General nominee Merrick Garland with a really, really weak response to a seemingly easy question that I think most of us would know how to answer. I know one person who would definitely know how to answer this, and that would be Jessica Vaughn from the Center for Immigration Studies. Jessica, thank you so much for being with us today.
Glad to be with you.
Jessica, I want to start, and we're going to get into more of the details here with ICE and the deportations, but my first question for you is, did you notice a shift that happened yesterday when news broke about the Biden administration opening up these facilities for unaccompanied migrant children? They were saying instead of kids in cages, it was facilities and, and areas. There was a lot of different semantics rather than the really dreadful semantics that were used during the Trump administration.
That's exactly right. This is really stunning hypocrisy. You've got it exactly right. Jen Psaki was on defense for sure when asked, and pointed out that Kamala Harris had called these facilities, a human rights abuse, and Biden himself had called, the scenes horrifying of putting the kids in these facilities. But now these are facilities that they need because they don't want to expel all of these kids coming illegally whose parents have paid smugglers for them to come into the country. They don't want to do that. They were clear about that. They don't dare do that. But they're putting them into facilities now. And their cases will be managed. It's not that they will, be, in immigration proceedings for breaking immigration laws, that they need access to education and services too. Probably in-person instruction, unlike what so many American kids are being denied right now by their state and local governments. But,
well, Jessica, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was a point I saw a lot on social media, was that these kids are getting in-person learning, despite the fact that most American kids are not. They're being forced to do virtual school.
That's right. Because they need our support. We don't, it's their own country and their own parents shouldn't be expected to provide for them. The attitude is that we need to provide for them, regardless of the cost or lack of fairness. That this is a burden that the United States and American communities must take on, just because they come, and a complete and total denial of the fact that Biden's own statements and policies are what have led people into this situation of, working with smugglers, putting kids in danger, bringing them here, and regardless of the impact on taxpayers, this is his policy. It's a direct result. No one should be surprised that this has happened right now, and it's going to get worse as long as they keep up with this policy of saying that everyone is welcome. Now, they overturned another Trump policy, the Remain in Mexico or Migrant Protection Protocols, which required people coming here who said they wanted to make an asylum claim to stay in Mexico. And they said they were going to start letting people in, about 25,000 people, and they let in a couple of hundred, I think. And then people started to rush the border.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do now. They've kind of shut it down, but they are getting kind of a hard look at reality at the border right now and how it must be managed.
And Jessica, I am going to move on from these migrant facilities, but I do have to say that it really does expose how much of a manufactured crisis it was in the beginning when they were blaming Trump for all of this. First of all, he didn't build the cages. That was during the Obama administration. But second of all, they were acting like this was the worst thing. AOC was calling it concentration camps. People were saying internment camps. And then when you see these pictures, I don't know if you've seen them, Jessica, but these look like shipping containers with windows. So it's not exactly that different from what Trump had supposedly force these kids to go into, these cages, which, again, he did not build them, but, that doesn't matter to the mainstream media.
Right. Well, they're doing the best they can with the resources that they have and within the restrictions that have been imposed on them by a judge in California. And, it is a difficult situation, but it wouldn't be happening at all if Biden had maintained Trump's policy of not letting anyone in, of requiring them to seek asylum elsewhere or stay in Mexico. That is the most humane way to deal with this situation because it prevents it from happening.
Right. I'm talking to Jessica Vaughn from the Center for Immigration Studies. Now, Jessica, you've really been writing a lot about Biden's freeze on ICE. And I do want to talk about the recent effects that we're seeing because of this freeze. But first, can you kind of break down for people what exactly when he became president, what stopped? Like, what were the differences between his freeze on ICE and what Trump and his administration were doing?
Well, on day one, Biden issued an executive order that basically shut down immigration enforcement, except for cases of terrorists, spies, and the most egregious criminals out there, which is a tiny percentage of the illegal alien population, and said that anybody else requests for ICE to arrest someone, including people released by sanctuary jurisdictions, they had to be approved by the acting ICE director, all the way up the chain of command to be on the ICE director's desk for approval. And he's walked some of that back since, but it's still a near total shutdown of immigration enforcement. ICE officers are not allowed to make any decisions on their own except for these cases of terrorist spies and what they call aggravated felons. Now the approval is bumped down to the top ICE officer in the local field office, but the priorities are the same, which is essentially they call them priorities. It's really a near shutdown of enforcement. And this is in anticipation of a planned reorganization of ICE that would effectively abolish immigration enforcement. One of the things they want to do is abolish deportation officers, because if there aren't any people to do this job, it's not going to be done. And dangling this, calling it a promotion for ICE officers, but being promoted into a position where you can't do the job you signed up for. And ICE officers I've spoken with are very upset about this. But they plan to abolish immigration enforcement. There's no other way to describe it.
And Jessica, I want to read from one of your stories here, and the title of it was ICE Records Reveal Disturbing Impact of Biden Enforcement Freeze. But this statistic blew my mind. You said in 2018, ICE removed 95,360 aliens from the interior of the country. If the new Biden deportation policies had been enforced and applied to ICE's 2018 interior caseload, a total of 91,993, or 96.5%, would not have been subject to removal. That's a pretty astounding number.
That's right. And the Biden team does not want everyone to remember that criminal aliens have always been the top priority for ICE in immigration enforcement, and there are other ways to bring about, people, to encourage illegal aliens to leave on their own, like denying them jobs and driver's licenses and public benefits and so on. But so stopping ICE from doing its job, the effect of that is that criminal aliens, and we're talking about illegal aliens who have been arrested and prosecuted for crimes and convicted of crimes, are going to be sent back to our communities instead of back to their home country. And it's tens of thousands of people every year in every part of the country, and there is going to be a human cost for this. We know that criminals reoffend. It's not like real rocket science, and they're going to reoffend. And until I guess somebody in the top level of the Biden administration has to experience the pain of being a victim of one of these criminals, they're not going to understand it. They don't think it affects them. They're more interested in giving amnesty to the entire population of illegal aliens and the ones deported by Trump, and, just expanding immigration, I guess, to, replace Americans with people who are more, kind of docile, I guess, for their policies. But there is going to be a public safety cost for this, and it's so preventable. They are in complete denial about what the effect of these policies is going to be.
Yeah, and I think just listening to Merrick Garland, the AG nominee, you can hear the denial and this, detachment from what's actually happening. But to your point, that's something that really frustrates me. And I don't want to say it's all Democrats, but it's just about people in general, that something has to be so literal and hit so close to home before people realize how it could have negative effects. Like, unless it happens to them, they're not going to understand it. When for most people, if you watch one of these angel moms, all you have to do is watch a minute of one of their videos or one of their read one of their stories, and you can, even if you don't live in Texas or you don't think it's going to happen to you, you can empathize and you can see why this is a huge problem. But a lot of these political figures, they really don't think this is ever going to affect them.
That's right. Their kids aren't going to school in the schools where these unaccompanied minors are coming. They don't have to live in neighborhoods where the quality of life is destroyed by the criminal activity and the gang members extorting businesses. They don't notice their taxes going up, I guess. It is a detachment, and, I wouldn't wish any tragedy on anyone. What I would rather happen is I hope that law enforcement agencies around the country will somehow get, have some influence over this administration and explain to them, what's gone wrong. I don't think they're going to listen. They can't even be shamed into changing their views on things like sanctuary policies and benefits for illegal aliens and all the things that make it so much tougher for Americans who are struggling. I don't think they're ever going to quite get it. And, that's why states and local governments are just going to have to push back.
Jessica Vaughn, thank you so much for joining us. She's from the Center for Immigration Studies. You can check out all her work at CIS.org. Really good stories. Some of this stuff, if you really want to put it into perspective for yourself and see some of these percentages and see some of these crimes that according to the Biden administration don't warrant someone being deported, it will blow your mind. But it's very informative, and it's important to know it so you can understand how deadly this is. Like Jessica said, this is going to have real world impacts sooner than people think. And I want to echo what she said. I don't want anything like this to happen to anyone. It's a horrible, horrible thing. But I do think we have to open our eyes here and be honest about the problem. Jessica, thank you so much. I hope you'll join the show again soon.
My pleasure.
Guys, it's true what they say, a perfect smile change your life. I saw the change with Howie and the mailroom manager. Many people walk around every day not smiling. Not a good way to live. Your smile changes the way that you feel. It changes how you walk around every day, how you carry yourself. It can really just change your whole mood if you feel confident in your smile. And if you want to understand the impact that a new smile can have, go to perfectsmiles.com and check out their video testimonials. Because if you're going to have a major transformation, you want to be in the right hands, and there's no one better than Dr. Houghton. He really is an artist. Perfect Smiles is conveniently located in Nashua, New Hampshire. Parking is free. Their staff is fabulous. You will feel so confident and so calm. Sometimes going to the dentist can be nerve-wracking for people. I totally understand that. But when you walk in there, you know you're in good hands. If you have been wanting to upgrade your look for years, take this as your sign. You're driving in your car and you go, oh, Perfect Smiles. I'm telling you right now, your life will change for the better. You'll be thinking to yourself, why didn't I do this years ago? Go to perfectsmiles.com. That's perfectsmiles.com. Again, check out their video testimonials. Don't take my word for it. Take the people who have perfect smiles right now and listen to their words, and you'll go, you know what? I can trust this. Change your smile, change your life. We'll take some of your calls on the other side. I'm Grace, and this is The Grace Curley Show.
Follow Grace on Twitter at @G_Curley.
Here's 1 minute of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
There's a lot of restaurants that are feeling the pain of racism, where people are literally not patroning Chinese restaurants. They're not patroning Asian restaurants because of just straight up racism around the coronavirus. So,
only in America does the president, when the president tweets about liberation, does he mean go back to work? When we, have this discussion about going back or reopening, I think a lot of people should just say, no, we're not going back to that.
I know it sounds banal.
Do we
we know how long puppies are allowed to stay with their mothers after a dog has given birth? I don't. 8 weeks. Wow. So the market has decided that women and people who give birth deserve less time with their children than a dog. So the whole premise of the Green New Deal is that we're screwed.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
Now's the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. I love my Raycons, and Grace loves hers, too.
Howie, I love my Raycons. Best birthday gift ever.
I listen to much better music than she does, though.
Hey, that's not true.
Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Go to buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie. buyraycon.com/Howie.
Grace Curley. She's here for the love.
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Grace Curley Show. Hope you enjoyed this past hour with Jessica Vaughn. Very informative and frightening, but it's important to know. I also want to mention this. Remember how yesterday there was a lot of talk about Neera Tanden? She is the OMB nominee, and Jen Psaki said, well, you know, she tweeted out that, don't forget, Neera Tanden's a woman, and that should be a qualification. Well, Bill Kristol's on board. I guess in his latest story, he wrote, I feel like there's a bit of sexism going on here. It just seems like these tweets sound harsher to these old guys because they're coming from a woman. Neera Tanden is, she's been criticized for having hundreds, I think, of tweets, really mean tweets about people that, you know, she feels bad about, or not feels bad about, you know, she's guilty because she deleted all of them. And that's the first giveaway. It's like, you know, saying you're sorry right away. If you say you're sorry, then that's the gig is up.
So wait, we're forgiving mean tweets now? Is that what's happening here?
Well, Steve,
because there's a guy who was banned from Twitter who happened to have a lot of tweets that were considered mean.
Alex Jones?
Yes, Alex Jones.
So we're just going to pretend, this is what Stephen Miller tweeted, we're just going to pretend that opposing Tanden is sexist wasn't directly fed to media and journalists by the Biden administration. This is the most hilarious, forced, transparent thing in months. It really is. I mean, it's not, she didn't tweet those mean things because she's a woman, and she shouldn't not have to answer for them because she's a woman. James, you're next with Grace on the Grace Curley Show. Go ahead, James.
Yes, Grace, the open borders by Biden are really disturbing me completely. I mean, Andrew Cuomo took a bunch of patients who were infected and put them into a healthy population, killing thousands of people. Right. Now, Joe Biden should follow the science that Cuomo tested. We need to cut out the Cuomoization of America.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we don't need. They got to follow the science. That's just plainly it.
Well, but here's the thing, James, and this is something that I'm sure you've realized, is that following the science is one of those things that it's more fun to do if it fits your narrative, because following if they really followed the science, then a lot of their major grifts would be done. I mean, John Kerry, he has made a career out of not following the science. Al Gore has made millions out of not following the science. Dr. Fauci is a celebrity from not following the science. Not following the science really does have a lot of positive benefits. You know, you can become. What did Steve Schmidt say? Generational wealth. You can become very, very, very rich and very happy from not following the science. Following the science is a little bit less fun. Guys, when we get back, I want to talk about censorship and also a little bit more news about the Cuomos. Don't go anywhere. This is the Grace Curley Show.
As this year of COVID draws to a close, it's time to make sure your portfolio is ready for whatever happens next. Kevin Frisbee and the team at Frisbee & Associates are ready to help you. It's called the 100-100 Challenge. If you have $100,000 saved for retirement and come in for that no-cost, no-obligation consultation, you'll walk out with $100 cash. That's right, $100 just to let Kevin do a portfolio x-ray and see what might be hiding in your current plan. Call now for your no-cost or obligation consultation, and you could walk out with $100 cash. Call 800-989-9100. That's 800-989-9100. Kevin is a true fiduciary. That means by law, he's always working in your best interest. And be sure and catch Kevin on the Howie Carr radio program every Thursday afternoon for a market review and tips on creating the retirement of your dreams. Call Kevin Frisbee today, 800-989-9100. That's 800-989-9100.
We are now, effective today, requiring all counties to close their indoor activities, their indoor operations in the following sectors: restaurants, wineries, tasting rooms. A few weeks ago, I was asked to go to a friend's 50th birthday. I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up.
Stay at home as much as possible. Put those social gatherings on hold, including extra care for Thanksgiving.
Denver's mayor told you to stay home for Thanksgiving, then he got on a flight to go see family out of state.
Some people calling Supervisor Kuehl a hypocrite. Now, on November 24th, she voted to ban outdoor dining, and on the very same day, she was spotted eating out.
I take responsibility for trusting the word of a neighborhood salon that I've been to over the years. As it turns out, it was a setup. So I take responsibility for falling for a setup. This salon owes me an apology.
What they do.
Joe Biden accuses Trump of being a racist, but if you listen to Biden's comments, you would agree that he doth protest too much.
If you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not, what do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
What do you the first mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean?
And Madam President, we have predators on our streets.
That kid wearing a hoodie may very well be the next poet laureate and not a gangbanger.
They are beyond the pale, many of those people.
God love you. You've been here all day. My Lord, you may feel like you're being incarcerated.
We have no choice but to take them out of society.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the Negro.
They're going to put you all back in chains.
Unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Hair loss is not one of life's more enjoyable experiences. If you're looking to fill in your hairline or reverse years of hair loss, DiStefano Hair Restoration will create a result that will be a transformative experience. The result of my IGT procedure was quite remarkable. I now have fuller, thicker hair so I can even wear it a bit longer. There are a few major decisions I've made in my life that I wish I did sooner. My hair restoration is number one. It was by far one of the best moves I've ever made. My hair looks awesome, and the confidence from having a full head of hair again has left me feeling great. I used to look in the mirror and dreaded seeing my ever-increasing bald spot. Now when I look in the mirror, I see the new me with a full head of thick hair. For information on how to make the same choice I did, go to hairman.com/Howie. What are you waiting for? More hair to fall out? Get the hair you've always wanted. hairman.com/Howie.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
Hello, all the participants in tonight's event. We can overcome the deadly virus. We can reward work. We will reclaim our credibility. The pandemic, we need all our strength to persevere. Rural versus urban. America built of decency. I took it to instill public confidence in the vaccine. President-elect Harris took hers today for the same reason. Everybody is entitled to be treated with decency. All my colleagues I serve with in the House and the Senate up here. James Joyce was said to have told a friend, I understand they worry about their jobs. I understand, like my dad, they lay at bed staring at the ceiling. Yes. God love you, man. You're a one-horse pony. Come on, give me a break, man.
Here's 1 minute with Governor
Charlie Parker in Massachusetts.
I'd certainly put myself on that list. I'm a basketball player. I always was.
There's a lot at stake here.
This is not a virus to be trifled with or disrespected.
Respect the virus.
I have a hard time understanding when we're going to be able to play basketball again.
We can start talking about a gradual, careful, data-driven, phased reopening. Don't let a few nice days step on that.
I need to talk to the Attorney General and find out what the actual parameters of the ruling are. Did this just happen? And the reason I read that story is because I'm a basketball player, and I agree. I was first made aware of the discrepancy on this on the day that the registrar resigned.
The vast majority, and I mean like the vast majority of the people who were part of these protests are there to make a point and to make it peacefully. That is so obvious, I'm amazed that anybody could say anything other than that. I would love to be able to open everything up tomorrow. That would be an incredibly irresponsible thing to do.
You've been hearing me talk about Super Beets for a while now, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, why Super Beets? You could take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I take them twice a day, once in the morning when I get up, even before I have my first cup of coffee, and the other time in the afternoon, right before the show. It gives me a burst of energy. It's great for my blood pressure. It's good for circulation. It just makes you feel better. If that doesn't convince you, we can talk about the science behind Super Beets. Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body, and even supports healthy blood pressure. But Super Beets does so much more than eating regular beets and is unparalleled compared to other beet powders. Just one scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. Go to superbeetsradio.com/Howie and try out Super Beets yourself. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie.
He's the gaffe that keeps on giving. Here's 1 minute of former Vice President Joe Biden.
You teachers who touch them, figuratively speaking, well, I hope you touch them and tell them how much you love them too. But my point is, when you touch their hearts.
I get in trouble some of the things I say, but I want to tell you, just be straight up. If I'm your president, with me it starts here in my gut, goes to my heart, and then I articulate it.
And by the way, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. 1.2 billion. So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store.
She's the Boston Herald's wittiest wordsmith, the last woman standing at the Whiskey Priest. Once a very legitimate magazine that we definitely didn't make up named her the Michael Jordan of radio. Wait, don't you think we're laying it on a little thick here, Grace?
Just stick to the script.
Oh, okay. Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio, it's the Grace Curley Show.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Grace Curley Show. This is the last hour, so we got to make it count. And we're going to get right into it right now. I have a lot of stories I want to get to. I want to start with this censorship story. You're never going to believe this, but guess who is trying to silence other views? What party, Jared? What political party would you guess?
Is it the Whig Party?
It is the Democrats. They are back at it again, and I'm going to tell you all about it. Congressional Democrats, there's two who really started off this letter. They sent a letter to Comcast, Amazon, Google, AT&T, and others, demanding to know what they plan to do about the spread of dangerous misinformation from Fox News, OAN, and Newsmax, including whether they will continue to carry them. Now, the two members of Congress are Anna Eshoo and Jerry McNerney. And I want to read you this. This is the seventh point on their list. Are you planning to continue carrying Fox News, Newsmax, and OAN on Uverse, DirecTV, and AT&T TV, both now and beyond any contract renewal date? If so, why? Now, this is really a dangerous territory. Democrats were talking about this, like Brian Stelter. People were talking about this earlier. Who was the guy he had? Darcy. Oliver Darcy, is that his name? They were talking about not giving Fox News and Newsmax not putting them on these cable providers, not giving people the option to watch them because of the misinformation. And I have 2 points to make here. One is misinformation can be anything that you don't like. If we can just decide that things we disagree with are misinformation, then CNN's in a lot of trouble because they actually did put out a lot of misinformation. Remember the Russia hoax? That was kind of a doozy for them. But they don't like what Fox and Newsmax, what they talk about. They don't like the people that get a platform on those shows. And so rather than just change the channel, they are obsessed with them and they want them to no longer be on your TVs. It's gross. It's censorship. It's cowardly. And it shouldn't surprise you at all. But what I want to read to you is the FCC Commissioner Carr, not Howie Carr, Brendan Carr. He provided a response to these Democrats, and it's a great response. I'm actually very impressed. He said, today, 2 senior Democrats on the House Energy and Commerce Committee selectively targeted a handful of news media outlets for their coverage of political events. By writing letters to the cable providers and other regulated entities that carry these news media outlets, the Democrats are sending a message that is as clear as it is troubling. These regulated entities will pay a price if the targeted newsrooms do not conform to Democrats' preferred political narratives. This is a chilling transgression of the free speech rights that every media outlet in this country enjoys. Debate on matters of public interest should be robust, uninhibited, and wide open. More speech is better than less. Yet the concerted effort by Democrats to drive political dissent from the public square represents a marked departure from these First Amendment norms. A newsroom's decision about what stories to cover and how to frame them should be beyond the reach of any government official, not targeted by them. To the House Democrats that use their official letterhead to launch this inquiry, I would say this. Your demand to know the moral principles that guide a private entity's decision about what news to carry cannot be reconciled with bedrock principles of free speech and journalistic freedom. I call on my FCC colleagues to join me in publicly denouncing this attempt to stifle political speech and independent news judgment. I have nothing to add except... I always have one thing to add. It's the Grace Curley Show. What do you expect? I do have one thing to add, and that's a brilliant response, and I wholeheartedly agree with it. It's gross that these politicians are trying to get involved in this now. They're trying to be the Ministry of Truth. George Orwell would be like, wow, I did not think you guys were going to follow my lead exactly. I thought you might mix it up a little bit. They're literally trying to emulate this dystopian society. Or is it dystopian? What's the bad one? A dystopian. Okay, good. But here's what I want to say. They're so concerned with getting Fox News off the air. What on earth would Brian Stelter do without Fox News? Every single segment he does is about what's on Fox News. Every tweet, every media release, every email blast, every newsletter, every interview, it all is about what's happening on Fox. Fox was covering the Merrick Garland hearings, and Brian Stelter was covering Fox. The guy's completely obsessed, and we already took away Trump from him. They took Trump off Twitter, which I'm sure was a huge blow to Brian Stelter, because Reliable Sources was built around Donald Trump and how awful he was. So Brian Stelter's already been struggling up to this point. If you took away Fox News, I fear for him. He would really collapse. He depends on them. He watches them every day. And I feel as though Jim Acosta is in the same boat. Without Fox News, what do they become? When you become so obsessed with the things you hate, and then that hate, the thing you hate goes away, you're an empty shell. You don't even know who you are anymore. They can't quit Trump, and they definitely cannot quit Fox. They call it an echo chamber. They're obsessed with it. They're obsessed with the echo chamber. So for their sake, I'm hoping that Fox and Newsmax and OAN and everything stays on the air, and I think it will. That really restores my faith, that comment by the FCC commissioner. Now, I do have to say, as much as I rag on reporters like Jim Acosta, heroes in the news, I got to give one reporter credit. Now, keep in mind, I am not one of these people that every time Jake Tapper now says something negative about Joe Biden, I'm not going to be up here going, oh, so nice, Jake. Good for Jake. Good for Jake for holding their feet to the fire. Good on Jake Tapper. No. I will never, ever, ever forgive the mainstream media for the coverage of Joe Biden. And every time from now on, when they complain about the lack of transparency, and when Jen Psaki laughs about how Biden's not going to hold a solo press conference, and all of that, that is their fault. That is what they wanted. This is all they're doing. They deserve to be treated like jerks from the Biden administration, because that is what they are. With that being said, I'm giving this one guy credit because I don't really know him, first of all. His name is Matt Lee from the Associated Press, and I just liked his delivery. So here's what was happening. This guy, Ned Price, was talking about the Nord Stream 2, which is a controversial $11 billion pipeline project designed to transmit Russian natural gas to Germany. Now, there's been an effort to scale back involvement from Nord Stream 2, and a report was sent to Congress that said 18 entities have engaged in good faith efforts to scale back their involvement. the way this guy, Ned Price, set it up, he's the State Department spokesman, he was trying to take credit for it and make it seem like it was Biden administration that kind of persuaded these entities to scale it back. This reporter was having none of it. And this is a really good sound cut. Let's play it, Jared.
It's a bit disingenuous to claim credit for the 18 companies winding down. All of this work was done under the previous administration. You guys have only been in only been in office for a month, right? Are you telling me that in the last 4 weeks, these 18 companies all of a sudden decided to say, "Oh my God, we better not do anything with Nord Stream 2"?
I am speaking for the
all of that. You guys are taking credit for stuff that the previous administration did. Right?
I am not.
No?
I am
Yes
speaking
or no?
for the Department of State.
Okay.
The people who have been working this, the people who are working this now, were the same people a month ago. Were the same people
3 months ago.
3 months ago. So
all right.
Where was that guy for the last couple of years? We needed him. We needed you, Matt Lee. I do think, Jared, and this might be a job for tomorrow, we should start collecting some of these sounds of people not being able to answer questions and being caught in a panic. Like that guy, Ned Price. Can we play the beginning of that? Now listen for it, guys, because we always play the Kamala Harris sound. Let's play Kamala first. This is Kamala Harris trying to get out of a question that she does not want to answer. This is, I always say, it's like the sound. If you had to predict what a lie sounds like, this would be it. Now let's play that cut again. Now listen to Ned Price. He has a moment.
It's a bit disingenuous to claim credit for the 18 companies winding down. All of this work was done under the previous administration. You guys have only been in only been in office for a month, right? Are you telling me that in the last 4 weeks, these 18 companies all of a sudden decided to say, "Oh my God, we better not do anything with Nord Stream 2"?
I am speaking for the.
All of that.
You
guys are taking credit for stuff that the previous administration did.
Now, we need that. We need Kamala. We need Jen Psaki with the and we need Merrick Garland with the and I think we could create this really swinging remix of all of these different.
I will comb the archives for some Merrick Garland. Hopefully, able to find some.
Jared has a real gift.
I will
for this
work
stuff.
hard.
So I just gave you your job for all day tomorrow, guys. If you haven't tried Super Beats Heart Chews, you're missing out. I'm going to hold them up right now. I love these because I have poor circulation. Jared, you do too, right?
Yes, my hands are cold all the time.
And it really does work. It gets the blood flowing through.
Right.
And a lot of people take them for different reasons, but that's the reason we take them. And plus, they taste really good. I think that's most the reason that my bag's getting lighter and lighter in here is that you guys come in here.
They are delicious.
They are really, really good. Super Beats Heart Chews combine non-GMO beets with a powerful new ingredient, grape seed extract. The grape seed extract used in Super Beats Heart Chews has been clinically shown to be 2 times as effective at supporting normal blood pressure as a healthy lifestyle alone. Better blood pressure means more energy, the way nature intended, without the jittery caffeine or stimulants. And that's a huge part of this, too. If you need an afternoon pick-me-up, do not have a second cup of coffee, okay? You're going to feel antsy and crazy. Take a Super Beats chew. You can take 2 delicious chews a day, anytime, anywhere. They're easy. You can grab them. They're pre-wrapped to get the blood pressure support you need and the energy you want. Do what I did. Support your heart health with the delicious Super Beats Heart Chews. Get your Super Beats chews today at getsuperbeats.com/grace. When you buy 2 bags, they'll throw in a 3rd bag for free. That's getsuperbeats.com/grace. We'll be back with your calls, 844-500-4242. Don't forget, guys, at 2:30, we have producers' picks, and then we have our crossover with Howie Carr. We'll be right back. This is The Grace Curley Show.
You can call her late for dinner. Just don't call her Gracie. It's The Grace Curley Show.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
That ain't a riot, what we're seeing right now in Minneapolis. They are strictly principled anti-fascists.
No organization is perfect. There was some violence.
Any reasonable person would say we shouldn't be destroying other people's property, but these are not reasonable times.
I argue to you tonight, all punches are not equal morally.
But thank goodness for the looters, man.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do not get it twisted and think that, oh, this is something that has never happened before, and then this is so terrible, and where are we, and these savages and all of that. This is how this country was started.
People get mad, and people get sick of it. People are risking COVID to explain to this country that we're fed up.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com. Watch out, Joe Biden. You might have to share some of the spotlight because your running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, is certainly grabbing some attention for her own gaffes.
She was part of our culture. Yes, we wear those notorious B.I.G. t-shirts with a lot of pride.
Best rapper alive, Tupac. He's not alive. You say he lives on.
Not alive. I know. I keep doing that. A Harris administration together with Joe Biden as the president of the United States. The Biden-Harris administration. We have got to, in America, reimagine how we are accomplishing public safety. And let's be clear, there is no vaccine for racism.
Let's just say there's a vaccine that is approved and even distributed before the election. Would you get it?
Well, I think that's going to be an issue for all of us. I will say that I would not trust Donald Trump.
She's the friend you never knew you needed.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Okay, make that best friend. It's Grace Curley.
We always have so much fun. Today's poll question is brought to you by Genesis 950. Use Genesis 950 for all your cleaning needs. Use code word GRACE to save $10 and get free shipping. Go to Genesis950.com. Genesis 950, a lot cheaper than replacing your carpets. Jared Diglio is on the board. Jared, what is the poll question and what are the results thus far?
Well, as you know, we do a poll question every day, and sometimes a woman does it. Sorry.
Was that your Jen Psaki?
That was my Jen Psaki.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Thank you very much. I will circle back on that one.
Very
Today's
good.
poll question is, which of Merrick Garland's answers thus far concerns you the most? Antifa may not be domestic terrorism, allowing transgender athletes to play women's sports, won't commit to criminalizing illegal border crossings, won't commit to releasing the Durham report.
Illegal border crossings, because illegal's in the question, and he still can't say if it's illegal. And I feel like that's a giveaway. That's one of those questions you get in a test that the teacher just, it's like writing your name. You get 5 points automatically.
Right.
That's an easy. The answer is in the question.
Is a crime an act of criminality, sir?
Yes, exactly. That's the same thing.
Yes, won't commit to criminalizing illegal border crossings at 38%.
Okay, now, in the next segment, we are going to have Jared do producer's picks, which I cannot wait for. But I want to finish up with a couple of these stories here. One that cracked me up is Stephen King, okay? And I'm going to give you Stephen King, the author. My fiance reads some of his stuff sometimes. These big books.
He is very verbose.
Oh, and I just look at them and I go, as if First of all, I don't want to read it to begin with. Most of the stuff's kind of sci-fi-esque for me.
It's more horror.
Yeah.
Suspense.
But then when I see tweets like this from Stephen King, I'm like, I'm definitely not reading that stuff. So I'm going to give you the timestamps on this, okay? This is February 5th, 2021. Stephen King writes, I waited for a vaccination appointment and patience was rewarded. Drive-through in Pasco County. Moderna. No adverse effects. I think it was the National Guard running the show. Very cool. Get it done, folks. Let's kill this thing. Now, again, I'm going to remind you, that was February 5th, 2021. February 22nd, 2021, which I believe was yesterday. This is Stephen King. It seems possible, likely even, that Ron DeSantis provided rich Republican-leaning communities like Lakewood Ranch with priority vaccinations for political gain. Ooh, wait a second.
So is Stephen King a rich Republican now?
Yeah, like, I would take your advice, or I would take you seriously about criticizing, you know, who's getting the virus, but who's getting the vaccine, but you already got it.
The internet's forever, people. There are the receipts out there.
The receipts. We have the receipts, thank God. And another thing I want to talk about, Meghan McCain, she was trending on Twitter yesterday because she was criticizing Dr. Fauci, and she was saying, you know, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get the vaccine. And she was just saying she's over Dr. Fauci. I don't think her delivery was great. She kind of made it seem like, when am I going to be able to get it? And Meghan McCain seems like she's young and healthy, and I don't understand why she's that concerned about getting it herself. But whatever. She was just talking. I mean, everyone can say what they want. But of course, Twitter goes crazy. And Chris Cuomo thought it would be a good idea to chime in. So he responds to her monologue with question mark, question mark, question mark. He retweets the video of her and puts all those question marks. And you know what she wrote back? Best tweet I've seen in a long time. I always go back and forth on Meghan McCain because some of the stuff on The View she says I really disagree with. But tweets like this, I'm inching towards not being a fan, but I do think she has good points. She writes to Chris Cuomo. She's got guts, if anything. That's what I'll say. She's got guts. You and your ghoul of a brother were doing comedy shows with giant Q-tips and joking about his sex life while covering the number of nursing home deaths in New York City. Why doesn't your brother finally apologize to Janice Dean and the other family members he helped to kill? Roasted. I mean, you can not like her, but that is a brutal tweet. Your ghoul of a brother. I might start using that. I mean, wow. And then lastly, before we go to break here, on Thursday, the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee will hold a nomination hearing for Dr. Rachel Levine. Remember Dr. Rachel Levine? And this is a story, I'm not even going to have time for it, but she's advocated in the past for sex changes for kids. And some of these stories, you read them and you go, where are we at? Like, I know it's 2021, but I just never thought we'd be in this spot. This story is really crazy. Guys, when we get back, producers' picks, and so much more. This is The Grace Curley Show.
If you're thinking about a new RV this year, I've got 2 words of advice for you. Buy early. This is Howie Carr. With the popularity of camping growing and manufacturers' constraints, the earlier you shop, the better. Our friends at Cold Springs RV are ready for you. They have an indoor heated showroom and heated units outside for winter browsing. They are also ready to sell your current RV on consignment. Learn more at coldspringsrv.com or visit Cold Springs RV in Ware, New Hampshire.
The Subaru of New England, Washington's birthday sales event lasts all month long. Feel the freedom in a brand new all-wheel drive 2021 Subaru Forester with standard EyeSight driver assist technology starting at $24,795 with 0.9% financing for up to 48 months. Or lease for only $239 per month for 36 months with $24.99 due at signing. Details at SubaruofNewEngland.com.
President Trump is clearly ethically unfit and intellectually unprepared to be the president of the United States. And I support Chairwoman. In the coming weeks, the House will hold hearings of Congresswoman Harris, Senator Harris. He's our president, and I would rather he not be taking something that has not been approved, especially in his age group and in his, shall we say, weight group, what is morbidly obese, they say. So completely inappropriate in so many ways that it's almost a given. It's like a child who comes in with mud on their pants or something. That's the way it is. They're outside playing. That's what he comes in with doggy doo on his shoes, and everybody who works with him has that on their shoes too. But I only will do that if you tell me that this legislation is worthy of George Kirby's name. This moment of national anguish.
Everyone knows I love coffee and I'm not giving it up. I know that it would keep me up from time to time, but no longer with Balance 7. Balance 7 is a clear mineral liquid that you take 3 times a day to break down the acid in your body. When it does this, you'll feel better, and I sleep better. Often I'm asked to try products, and I can be very skeptical on their claims. But with Balance 7, it was all 100% true. With Balance 7, I didn't feel my energy starting to flag as the day wore on, because by sleeping better at night, it also gave me mental clarity during the day. Balance 7 is a highly alkalizing concentrate. That means it reduces the acids that have built up in your body. Balance 7 is also known for reducing acid reflux and heartburn as it did for the mailroom manager. Balance 7 is made of safe, all-natural ingredients. If you suffer from heartburn, acid reflux, or sleep issues, you should give Balance 7 a try. Order the 8-ounce 12-pack supply at balance7.com. Put in code word Howie. You will save $10 and you'll also get free shipping. Balance7.com.
It's story time with Grace Curley. Tell me the story about driving back from the Matthews Brothers remote.
I was driving the mailer manager's car, and then she was driving their other car. She had Howie in her car, and I was by myself. And it was a snowstorm, and it was really, really, really bad. Like, I'm talking the worst conditions I've ever had to drive on in my entire life. It was so scary. I was sweating. I don't think I got home till like 3 in the morning. And I was like, I have to come in tomorrow and tell the mailer manager I can't do that again. And when I came in and, I kind of built up the courage to say it, and she looked at me and she said, "You can't do that again." I was sweating. My whole back was sweating. I'm never doing that again ever. So now if there's even like a little bit of snow coming, she'll say to me, "Do you want to stay at the hotel? Or do you want to, what should we do? How should we plan for this?"
Catch all of Grace Curley's stories weekdays right before Howie from 12 to 3 on The Grace Curley Show. And follow Grace on Twitter at @G_Curley.
Here are some rapid-fire questions with Taylor Cormier. What would you eat for your last meal on Earth?
I'm fond of old favorites, childhood favorites. I'd go with my mother's beef and bean pie, followed by, for dessert, my grandmother's recipe for oatmeal cookies and a big glass of milk.
Where is your favorite place to vacation?
Home. I like being home. I like my house. I know where everything is. Yeah, I just like being home.
Favorite Frank Sinatra song to listen to?
It's called Without a Song, and it's on the album I Remember Tommy. It's a tribute to Tommy Dorsey, and it's a very swinging remake of the original orchestration.
Favorite Frank Sinatra song to sing?
My favorite one to sing is One for My Baby and One for the Road. It's a very sad song, but it's somebody coming to the realization that this is the way life is, and they've come to terms with it, and I think it's something. Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio.
Welcome back, everyone. You know what time it is. It's 2:30. That means it's time for Producer's Picks.
And now, the feature so many of our listeners wait for each day. Producer's Picks.
Producer's Picks is when my producer, Jared Diglio, goes over all of the hottest stories of the day, and he tells us what's on his mind. Because some of the stories that I go through, they don't interest Jared. And some of the stories he goes through, I wouldn't necessarily pick out.
I would say that's accurate.
So let's see what he's got today. It's always an interesting collection.
It's a nice, delicate balance.
Exactly.
So first off, I want to call to attention February 23rd. On this day in 1945, U.S. Marines on Iwo Jima captured Mount Suribachi, where they raised 2 American flags. The first one, and then the second one, is the iconic photo of the 6 Marines.
Great photo.
It's great. Research it. Check out the photo. I think there are statues or monuments. Yep. Go check those out before they're ripped down. But a very important day. That was a big day for the Marines, big day for the country, and a big point of World War II.
Jared, you are starting off strong with a little bit of patriotism and history. I like it a lot.
Woman finds kilo of cocaine in crochet kit bought at a Seattle store.
Jared, this is the second day that you've had a cocaine story. A smuggling cocaine
there's
story.
There's a Biden administration. It's going to be everywhere.
You're right. This might be an everyday type of deal.
A woman got a big surprise after she bought a craft kit in a thrift shop in Seattle's Greenwood neighborhood over the weekend. The woman purchased a kit to crochet animal hats, and when she opened it, there was a suspicious heavy package in yellow rubber, and it had 100% written on the outside. So this was some pure, good old-fashioned Bogota bullion, as they say on the street.
Well, she definitely got her money's worth.
Yes, she did. And now it is time for the computer to not work.
Oh, I was going to say, the suspense is killing me.
Now it is time for
Tales from Chicago. Go.
Chicago, Chicago, that toddling town.
This was a one-hit segment we did a while back. I promised a little more about Chicago. Here we go.
Wow, and you came with the music and everything. I love it.
So carjackings in Chicago are up 135%.
Damn.
So rest assured, Representative Marcus Evans has the answer. Ban the sale of the Grand Theft Auto video game, which glorifies carjacking.
Has that game, now, am I crazy? Has that game been out for like 20 years?
It's close. I mean, I remember I used to play the second one, and then we're talking about 2003, 2004, so it's been out for a while.
And even before that, you had Simpsons Road Rage.
Yes, Simpsons Road Rage was a great game.
It was so
good.
Wasn't it so fun? I love that game.
Yes,
we have more. Do you know, Jared? We have more in common than we think.
I think we do.
There you go.
On Friday, Rep. Marcus Evans Jr. filed HB 3531, which would amend the law to ban the sale to anyone of video games depicting psychological harm, including motor vehicle theft with a driver or passenger present.
This is what's wrong with politicians. They're always going after things and putting new things on the book that don't have any effect in real life. There's plenty of people who play that video game who don't go out and actually steal cars.
Yes, I played it hours on end when I was in my 20s, and I've never stolen a car.
So you say. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah, no, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And it's just another thing to waste their time on. They need to figure out, they need to prioritize. You know, like what's a real issue?
So Mike Bloomberg, who you remember famously stiffed his political staff.
Yes.
On their paychecks. I don't know if you've seen this, but seems Mini Mike took some time out of his busy biting pizza, licking his fingers, and sticking them back in the pizza box.
Oh my
Crime
gosh.
against humanity.
I
schedule.
forgot about that. That was pre-COVID. Can you imagine if he did that today?
There is no greater act of a sociopath than taking the pizza, biting it, putting back, and licking your fingers and sticking your hands back in there.
If you guys missed that, stop what you're doing and Google it, YouTube it. It really was part of what derailed his entire presidential campaign. I mean, that and that terrible commercial about dogs for Bloomberg.
Oh my God, I forgot that.
He was a walking PR disaster, but I forgot about the licking of the fingers.
Oh, it's burned into my brain.
It was worse than double dipping. It was so slobbery and gross.
Yeah.
And the pizza was supposed to be, I think, for the people working for him. And it was like,
yes.
Thanks a lot, man. We want this now. Yuck.
So nearly a year after his $1 billion presidential campaign crashed, his staffers are still dealing with aftershocks, according to this article.
Does that aftershocks, like as in they're not getting paid?
Well, not only are they not getting paid, but in recent weeks, aides have gotten their, tax forms, which in some cases indicate they are tens of thousands of dollars more than what they were actually paid.
Oh.
Now, this is significant because not only does it completely screw up their tax filings and their claims and everything else.
Right.
Because of this extra reported income that they never received, it seems many of these employees, if not all of them, are not eligible for the COVID stimulus check based on their income.
Mike Bloomberg, you've screwed him again. First with the pizza, then with the paychecks, now with the COVID relief. Wow, what? Oh, gosh.
Wasn't this guy an economic wizard? Why do all the economic wizards not understand anything about economics?
I have to say, and I think that the pandemic is partially responsible for this, but I know I had said that 1 month under Joe Biden feels like a couple of years, but what I really do have to say is that when I think about a time where we were talking about Mike Bloomberg and the dog commercial, Dogs for Bloomberg, and licking the pizza, and it feels like a decade ago that Mike Bloomberg was running for president. So much has happened since then. We were so naive when we thought that that was like the big problem, is that, oh, Mike Bloomberg. Look at us now. If I could go back and see that girl who was watching the video of Mike Bloomberg lick his fingers and stick them into a pizza, I would say, enjoy this. Because life's got a lot of curveballs ahead.
And another pizza story. This one is better pizza, but it's also a little bit sad. Portland, Maine, the iconic late-night Portland pizza parlor Bill's Pizza is going to close after decades.
Aww.
The Holy Donut will be taking over the location right in the old port there. But if anybody ever stumbled out of $3 Dewey's at very late hours in the mornings and you needed something to soak up the grease, Bill's Pizza was where it was at. Very good pizza. Many a night I kind of remember but don't remember having pizza there. Very sad to see Bill's Pizza go.
You never like to see a pizza place go out. I mean, not to make this, Jared, about me, because you were just, I wouldn't want to do that. It's not really, the type of person I am. But there's a pizza place near me that we've been going to since we were little. And I don't think he went out of business. Like, I think he decided that he was done. We haven't really gotten the full story yet. But it's crazy because it's hard to find, especially if you really like pizza, it's hard to find a place that's your spot,
Right.
And then you get used to it years and years in the making, and then one day they're gone. It's like, I feel like he should have had to consult with some of us before he made this huge decision. Like, one day we show up and it's all cardboarded. What?
Yeah, that's always tragic.
Yeah.
You gotta hold on to those gems because they are few and far between.
Especially a Greek pizza place. Oh,
yeah.
good.
So in news involving why isn't this a television show or was this a movie in 1988? This is from CBS News. They sent out the tweet, which I have retweeted. Police in Karachi, Pakistan are training an armed rollerblading unit to better prevent theft and harassment in the streets. So take that, bike cops. We got rollerblade cops now.
I kind of see this. I kind of understand it because
it looks amazing.
People who can rollerblade, I do think you are, you have a better chance of catching someone if you're on blades rather than on a bike. I mean, not to bring Howie into this, but remember when he was on a bike? He tried to reach for
describe it to me again.
He tried to reach for his cell phone or something. He fell off, broke his elbow. But if he had been on blades,
he could have broken 2 elbows.
I know. God knows what would happen if he had been on blades. But I when I was little, we had a street that was popular for people to rollerblade on, like kids, who played hockey and stuff. They would bring out their blades and play street hockey. And I kind of understand that. I do think you have a little bit more leeway. You got free hands. You could catch a robber.
Well, I guess it's a training video or publicity video, whatever it is, but they're rollerblading around and they're going down steps, guns drawn. I mean, it is badass. Like, it looks great.
Yeah. And you know what? It's not for everybody, but sometimes if you're good at it, you ever seen people like in New York when New York wasn't, done for, but people would be
rollerblading. It wasn't a post-apocalyptic wasteland.
Yeah. Or if you're out in California, it's like an art form.
Yeah.
They really can do it. It's like figure skating or something. It's wild. Guys, I have to let you know that this week, it's the week you've been waiting for. My friends at Eden Pure have brought back the ever so popular Thunderstorm Air Purifier BOGO offer. That's buy one, get one free. The offer expires Sunday, February 28th at midnight. With over 60,000 sold, the Thunderstorm is slated to sell out. So take advantage of this offer while supplies last. If you've bought one and love it the way I do, then order now and you'll have two. Debbie from Auburn, Maine wrote, wet dogs, sausage, and cigars was no match for the Thunderstorm. What more do you need to know? Those are three very strong smells. Matt the vet loved it so much he bought two more. I have two in my house. It's great for after we cook steak. And it's great just to keep the air moving in the winter. You got a lot of windows and doors shut tight. The air can get kind of stale. And it's nice to keep it circulating. Guys, if you want one, you got to take advantage of this BOGO offer. The Thunderstorm is below $100 and doesn't take up any room. No filters are needed. So if you're lazy or if you just want a small device that doesn't take up a lot of space, this is your product. Take advantage of the BOGO offer before it expires this Sunday or before supplies run out. Go to EdenPure.com and put in code word GraceBOGO. That's EdenPure.com. Grace BOGO. Shipping is free. We will be back on the other side with Howie Carr. Jared Diglio, thank you for producer's picks. Very interesting smattering of topics. We went from pizza to rollerblades to car theft. There's nothing we can't do in producer's picks. We'll be back on the other side, guys, with the captain. This is the Grace Curley Show.
You're listening to the Grace Curley Show.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
That ain't a riot, what we're seeing right now in Minneapolis.
They are strictly principled anti-fascists.
No organization is perfect. There was some violence.
Any reasonable person would say we shouldn't be destroying other people's property, but these are not reasonable times.
I argue to you tonight, all punches are not equal morally.
But thank goodness for the looters, man.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do not get it twisted and think that, this is something that has never happened before, and then this is so terrible, and where are we, and these savages and all of that. This is how this country was started.
People get mad, and people get sick of it. People are risking COVID to explain to this country that we're fed up.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
Now's the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. I love my Raycons, and Grace loves hers, too.
Howie, I love my Raycons. Best birthday gift ever.
I listen to much better music than she does, though.
Hey, that's not true.
Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Go to buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie. buyraycon.com/Howie.
This is the Grace Curley Show.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Grace Curley Show. Thank you so much for joining me this Tuesday. It's been a really fun show. We got a lot of sound cuts in, but someone who's going to probably play even more sound because he's had the whole morning to prepare. Howie Carr, what do you got coming up today, Howie? See, I told you guys.
Back on his back up against the ropes here, I think. When you've lost the globe, you've lost Massachusetts. And they ran that picture of him yesterday with his hair on fire.
Don't forget WGBH. He lost them, too. That's just as bad.
He's got to go before the some kind of committee. But those are some real lightweights on the committee. Your representative Driscoll is the House chairman of the committee. John Driscoll's grandson, the former chairman of the Turnpike and the former treasurer, and then there's Joanne Comerford, who succeeded Rosenberg in Amherst. She had a problem getting on the ballot last year, I think. So these are the people that are going to be questioning him on Thursday. He's not going to have too much problem with them. But I think he's got just a problem with the people that are trying to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
This is a lot more than Beacon Hill problems.
Well, Howie, the other question I had for you is: have you been following Dr. Fauci today? He's now saying that people should be wary of indoor dining or going to theaters. I played a little bit of sound from Scott Atlas on Fox, Dr. Scott Atlas, and he doesn't say Fauci's name, but he might as well. And he just says these people are making these predictions, and they're not only wrong, they're always so negative and so harmful to businesses.
I know. The Palm Beach Daily News, the local paper down here, had a story. There have been no fatalities in Palm Beach County for 3 days. And needless to say, the scribes are extremely depressed and disappointed about that. But in the subhead, they put, But Fauci warns rate of infection still very, very high. Not one very, two veries high. He's trying to keep up the team lockdown spirits. They're behind 35-0 at halftime now. They've lost the momentum, but he's trying to keep up their spirits and telling them, this don't listen to these people who say the mutant can be fought back. These variations,
there's a new strain.
There's a new strain.
But, Howie,
it's more deadly than a homicide hornet or a killer bee.
I got to tell you this. I was talking to my friend yesterday, and she's not very political. And I just started ranting about Dr. Fauci, and I was texting her, and she was like, oh, yeah, whatever. And then she texted me a couple hours later, and she said her boyfriend was in the other room, and she could hear him on the phone, and she goes, he's on the phone ranting about Dr. Fauci being a scumbag. And I said, good. I'm not the only one. This guy's driving me nuts. I can't. Every single time I turn on the TV, there he is again, telling us about masks until 2022. And listen to how I'm going to play this sound for you. Listen to what Jen Psaki said about more suffering to come because of this coronavirus.
We need to remain vigilant, both from the federal government, the American people need to, and it's still going to be months and months of sacrifice, of work, of suffering, unfortunately, in order to get through the pandemic.
More sacrifice. So people whose businesses have officially gone out, people who have depression, people who are now, struggling with alcoholism. It's not enough.
She was not talking about herself. She was talking about you and me and everybody who's listening to us.
Right.
There's no one in the hackorama, and I include the federal hackorama, is suffering because of this. I mean, did you see that list? An all-time record number of people in the city of Boston payroll are making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. You have the medical director of the Boston Public Health Commission is making $185,000 apparently, living in Hawaii with her city job.
Well,
it's amazing.
And then people wonder why they don't want it to end. It's like this has become the new climate change. They've created hundreds of jobs for contact tracing and social distancing and vaccine rollout. This could go on forever.
Grace, don't forget working remotely.
Yes.
That's right up there with military intelligence and martial music, things like that, Working remote. How many people actually work remotely? Why are the teachers so disinclined to go back to work if they're working just as hard? You think they'd be banging on the schoolhouse doors trying to get in if working from home is so tough.
Now, Howie, my last question for you before we go: did you see that this letter that the Democrats sent to some of these cable providers?
Oh, that's just that's chilling. That's worse than anything Joe McCarthy ever did or any of those guys on the House Un-American Activities Committee.
Yeah. It says, are you planning to continue carrying Fox News, Newsmax, and OAN on UVerse, DirecTV, and AT&T TV both now and beyond any contract renewal date? If so, why?
I know one of the FCC commissioners, the Republican, a guy named Carr, no relation, said you came very close to telling them to get those networks off the air.
Yeah.
Very close.
I actually read his response, Howie. It was fabulous. I said he actually might be related to Howie Carr because he did such a good job. Guys, make sure you check out my Fallon's Begin post. It's on GraceCurleyShow.com and HowieCarrShow.com. Howie will be with you for the next 4 hours. He's got a jam-packed show planned, so don't go anywhere. I'll be back tomorrow with more. This is The Grace Curley Show.
Alexander Hamilton said, "Those who stand for nothing will fall for anything." This is Toby from Cape Gunworks. When our founding fathers drafted the Second Amendment, there was no question of its meaning. Today, if you have questions, come to Cape Gunworks for some advice, training, or to send a few rounds downrange. We have a fully stocked pro shop with a huge selection of guns, crossbows, archery, classes, rentals, a 15-lane range, and a friendly staff. Come on down to Cape Gunworks, Airport Road, Hyannis, or capegunworks.com.
Have you always wanted to have dinner with me? Well, today may be your lucky day. You can enter to win a free dinner with me just by going to the 110 Grill in Plymouth, Mass. and signing up. You will also get a free copy of Howie's book, Plug Uglies, when you enter to win. The night of the dinner will be Friday, February 26th, so hurry in soon. We will announce the winner Thursday, February 25th. I look forward to dining with you at the 110 Grill and sharing a few cocktails too. There's not a lot of time left, so enter to win today. Don't hesitate. That's the 110 Grill in Plymouth. Howie says it all the time. When it comes to bad politicians, Massachusetts takes the cake.
It is my honor to introduce to you your senator, my senator, Senator Elizabeth Warren.
I know who I am because of what my mother and my father told me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Governor Deval Patrick.
And frankly, I got to tell you, with all the other things I'm worrying about, this is not one of them. We're going to be fine. I'm in charge.
Please join me in welcoming our own Senator Ed Markey.
The planet is running a fever. There are no emergency rooms for planets.
The very first African-American congresswoman to be elected from Massachusetts, Ayanna Pressley.
We don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice.
Let's give him a great Waterloo reception. John Kerry.
The Yankees posted the Boston Red Sox logo and they sang Sweet Adeline.
What impact do you think Russian interference had in the election?
I think it was one of the major contributors to the outcome.
Years from the 2016 election, and Hillary Clinton still can't accept the results. Take a listen.
You know, you can run the best campaign.